Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Marvel's Super God Game Producer. Chapter 21. It would be a lie to say that Showdown won't bloat. Even if he was an executive of the leading game company in China before, he did not have the sense of honor he has today. Domestic first-class company, and the world's #1 game company. It sounds like the difference between the two is not too obvious. However, in reality, the gap can be described as worlds apart. It can be said that the total number of game companies in the world is not equal to the #1 Antarctic game company in the world. And today all this is brought about by a small king of fighters, and there are more cool and exciting games behind him. Therefore, the future of Antarctic Game Company is unlimited. With a bold prediction, it is not impossible to defeat the giant Stark Industries. Definitely, in addition to honors, these achievements also brought him points, which were converted into personal strength. Double success, the sense of honor cannot be concealed, and there is no need to conceal it. Phil Coulson pursed his lips and drove the car to the SHIELD headquarters without saying a word. "Come with me, sir." After getting out of the car, Phil Coulson invited professionally. Showdown looked at the building of the SHIELD headquarters for the first time. Judging from the movie, he did not have the feeling of witnessing it with his own eyes. "Just here, how many secrets are hidden? Let's go," he said thoughtfully. The two came to the director's room without any hindrance. Seeing Nick Fury's black face from afar, Showdown smiled. "Director Nick, are you still angry?" "Don't be angry, my king of fighters. It is inevitable, and it has nothing to do with whether you promote it or not. It doesn't matter much." "Oh, God, you are such an ungrateful fellow." "That's the way businessmen are, isn't it?" "Well, the thing I hate the most in my life is the businessman, but now I want to help you, the businessman." "God." Showdown chuckled and looked at Nick Fury. The more unhappy he was, the happier he was. "Then let's not talk nonsense, just take me there. I have to go back to work after I'm done." "Let's go." Nick Fury stood up and walked directly towards the door without functioning. Out the door, turn right, then left. I don't know how long it took, and finally arrived at the control room. As soon as he stepped into the door, Showdown's eyes lit up. The facilities of SHIELD are much better than the civilian facilities outside. This place is 10 years ahead of the outside. If you can steal these back. Ahem, Mr. Showdown, let's do it. Nick Fury's dry cough interrupted Showdown's imagination. A little embarrassed, he put away his plan to steal the battery and walked to the machine. Although these machines are high level, they are actually not difficult to operate. On the contrary, they are simpler than the outside ones. First, check your firewall. While speaking, Showdown began to operate magically, typing frantically with his fingers on the optical keyboard, and a series of codes were typed out on the screen as the shadows of his fingers flew. To be honest, this kind of optical keyboard is really far from the electrostatic capacitive keyboard he is used to. As a programmer, he has very strict requirements for the keyboard. The same as on the bricks, the stone is more deadly. Both of these are uncomfortable to use. However, that terrifying muscle memory was still typed into countless codes smoothly. Soon, he created a simple icon on the desktop. "What are you doing?" Nick Fury frowned. He had seen the work of a super hacker, and it was nothing more than a black screen of the computer, with strings of English characters floating on the screen. But Showdown, he finished typing the code, and then built an icon on the desktop. "What is this for?" Hearing this, Showdown didn't even look back, and explained, "Oh, this is my commonly used detection software, developed by myself. It can detect and lock all viruses without trace, freeze all vulnerabilities, etc. Anyway, what do you think? Yes, there are functions you can't think of. It should be 10 times more efficient than your usual detection methods." Hearing such an exaggerated tone, pulling the old face, quietly moved closer to a body. "Attached to the ear canal. What price?" "Huh, you SHIELD want this?" "I don't think so." "Just say it straight. Make an offer." "Oh, this is my personal property, not for sale." Nick Fury felt as uncomfortable as eating shit. Suddenly, he looked at the computer screen and sneered in his heart. "Hee, all your operations are recorded, and I will copy your program afterward." "Director Nick, you're a smart guy. Don't you want to use ancient materials to copy and steal my software?" "That's really RZ. Quote. Nick Fury really had nothing to say. what a cold slap on the face mercilessly. If it was someone else, this method might work, but he is Showdown. That electronic ghost-like man. 2 minutes later. After the inspection, it can be said that there are no loopholes, or it can be said that there are many loopholes, but I will fix them for you. Showdown said suddenly. To say that the biggest loophole of the SHIELD system is their high-level logins. To put it bluntly, it is because in the grass layer of SHIELD, there is Hydra, and there is an inner ghost. And his method is the same as that of a cement builder plastering a wall. Once it is wiped off, it will be wiped away by him. Well done. Nick Fury's eyes revealed an incomprehensible look, and he didn't know what the old agent was thinking. Or, have you already guessed something? Showdown put those doubts aside for now. Repairing the firewall is just a small job. The main task given to him by SHIELD director is to find the short-lived ghost who dared to attack SHIELD. This is a matter of dignity and confidentiality. After closing and cleaning up the software for his own use, he searched for the attack records on the supercomputer. The most recent attack record happened 50 minutes ago. Just looking at the information fed back by SHIELD's own counterattack program, it is obvious that the opponent has occupied a large area of broilers. This is the basic operation of a hacker. In a contest between hackers, whoever reveals his position first will lose. But now, Showdown's position has been in the clear from the very beginning, and the opponent will know first no matter what. This is a counterattack from SHIELD. What the other party has to do is to temporarily stay away from all electronic network equipment, and it is useless to head with SHIELD. However, who is Showdown? Why can you be a chief engineer at a young age who generally doesn't have a chance until you are in your 40s or 50s? Also, the God-level programming technology given by the system is really only programming. Things are dead, people are alive. As Nick Fury said, he is an electronic ghost. Translated into easy-to-understand words, he is called the god of the internet. Suddenly, Showdown in front of the screen smiled coldly. Okay, let me get caught. You're too young to kill someone with a borrowed knife. This voice surprised both Nick Fury and Phil Coulson. There is such an operation in the world. SHIELD sent 100 super hackers, but they couldn't break the problem, and Showdown couldn't survive more than 10 seconds. What is this? Is this person really a devil? Oh, shit. The opponent is slipperier than a loach. How did you catch it? Nick Fury asked in surprise. In front of the computer, Showdown started to fight back and replied, in terms of tactics, the Chinese are the ancestors. The opponent is just shooting one shot and changing points. I am very familiar with this kind of tactics. What tactics? No comment. Quote. Okay, leave the next thing to me, just a little mouse that has fallen into the trap. Under Showdown's continuous offensive like a tide, the little mouse that attacked SHIELD was quickly overwhelmed and locked in position. 24 blocks. Inside a Western restaurant, in the electronic equipment that was playing elegant music and youth soap operas, there was a sudden rustling sound. The sound is not processed, it's like the sound of garbage electric current mic. Suddenly, the sound stopped abruptly. On TV, the original soap opera has become a cartoon cat and mouse. At the same time, the mobile phones of all the diners rang a crisp beep, for no reason. Surprised, they took out their mobile phones and saw that the screen was neither their lock screen nor a text message notification, but a photo, a picture of a girl. Who is she? Listen to me, I really don't know her. It's the same on my phone. Girl, don't be angry, your boyfriend didn't cheat, because it's on my phone too. Hey, isn't this person her? Everyone looked at the point, and saw that it was a young girl. She was digging the rice on the plate. It seemed that she didn't want people to see her face clearly, so she deliberately covered half of her face with her long hair. However, no matter from which angle you look at it, it is the person in the photo on the phone. Hey, ma'am, you have to give us an explanation. It's her picture, so all these incidents are naturally related to her. No matter what she's playing with, her friends, this behavior has violated their privacy. Unfortunately, the girl didn't dare to look up, nor did she dare to answer. At this moment, a voice rang out from everyone's mobile phones at the same time. Hello, Miss Sky. Hello, Miss Sky. Hello, Miss Sky. ... This voice, like half a spell, surrounds the girl's ears. She finally felt the fear. The hairs on her back stood up suddenly, and she didn't care about this delicious meal. She immediately pushed the table, and she jumped out like a half-grasshopper. She rushed out of the restaurant door, rushed to an old car on the side of the road, and quickly took out the car keys. When she opened the door, it turned out that it was a modified car. Except for the basic driving position, other places are filled with servers. Undoubtedly, this is a veteran. And when she stepped into the car and started it, a voice came out from her car stereo after a while, "Welcome back, Miss Sky." At the moment, S.H.I.E.L.D., out of his ultimate trust in Showdown ability, Nick Fury has already led Phil Coulson out for tea. Wait for the battle report. Showdown called up the little mouse's resume and displayed it on the screen. Looking at the photo, he stroked his chin. I always feel that this person looks familiar. Sky, Sky, Sky. There are a lot of people named Sky in the United States, and even many men are called Sky. But this person gave him a different impression. Suddenly, Showdown was shaken. Sky, Sky, isn't that Vibe Girl Sky? No wonder looking at the photo, he felt more and more familiar. Because the girl in the photo is the young hacker Sky who appeared in S.H.I.E.L.D. Agent. In fact, she is not only a hacker, but also a woman with super ability. I see. Thinking back to Sky in his memory, Showdown's eyes became brighter and brighter. His company is short of manpower right now, and he was thinking about how to recruit talents before, but now, isn't this just delivered to his door? No, this person cannot let S.H.I.E.L.D. know. Like him, S.H.I.E.L.D. is in great need of talent. Girls like Sky who possess both hacker skills and super ability cannot be snatched away by a labor organization like S.H.I.E.L.D. Anyway, being snatched by them is doing some dangerous work. It's better to stay in his company, get a high salary, and do a comfortable job. It's easy, I'll catch this little mouse myself. With this in mind, he quickly shut down and cleared all traces on the computer, and used his mobile phone to reconnect to Sky's coordinates. Then he walked out of the control room. Nick Fury is alone, holding a cup of coffee, contented. It turned out that what he drank was not tea. It seems that for the problem of S.H.I.E.L.D., he handed it over to Showdown with 100 confidence. "Oh, you're done. I got Phil Coulson ready to go, you told him enough." A little mouse, it's really not enough to let him, S.H.I.E.L.D. director, hand it over to his confidant Phil Coulson. He already thinks highly of this little mouse. However, how could Showdown let people from S.H.I.E.L.D. intervene? "Director Nick, I give you a favor. The popularity of the King of Fighters is half of your credit. Just strengthening the firewall of S.H.I.E.L.D. may not be enough. Let me get rid of that person for you." Definitely, this is a lie. He is a businessman, and he doesn't know how to get favors by himself. It's enough to help Nick Fury once, and it's clear, but it won't be for nothing to help him a second time. This is an excuse. I don't want people from S.H.I.E.L.D. to get involved. So great. Nick Fury was also taken aback. Originally, he was quite dissatisfied with this matter. Who would have thought that his simple greeting would make Showdown the boss of the world's #1 game company? I always feel like I'm at a disadvantage. He doesn't like to suffer. Can make Showdown compensate a little is a little. It just so happens that when dealing with hackers, let this guy go. Hey, what a coincidence. Definitely, didn't you tell me to leave this matter to you? Yes, I did. So, you should do it. Showdown succeeded in his heart, but he didn't show it on his face. Oh, it's really hard work. I knew I wouldn't say such a big talk. Okay, I'll send the Buddha to the west. Seeing the back of Showdown's departure, Nick Fury always felt that he had lost something. How could there be such a slight sadness? Out of the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters, Showdown didn't go after Sky directly. Because he didn't know whether he was following S.H.I.E.L.D.'s eyes or not. In the high-end restaurant outside, after meeting Liwa for a meal, he leisurely took out his mobile phone and checked Sky's location. Afterwards, he asked Liwa to go back to the company first, and he quietly started the trail by himself. Originally, Sky's location was not far from him, but now, that chick has already driven a car and ran 108,000 miles. Basically never stopped. But that's okay, it's better to drive to the wilderness, he. Definitely, he will not do illegal things if he does them. Sky drove a modified van, which was originally slow, and with the cumbersome electronic equipment, it was basically the same as a turtle speed, while Showdown was driving a high-end sports car, and the basic speed alone was completely crushed. If you want to catch up, let her run 3 hours ahead of time. Girls are girls after all, and Sky's physical fitness is not enough to support her to keep running away for several hours. Her body and mind are highly tense, and now she is exhausted. And Showdown looked at the red dot on the car navigator, and suddenly showed a winner's smile. Because that red dot has stopped. The GPS positioning was not accurate to the millimeter, and the red dot didn't move. It didn't mean that Sky just fell asleep and didn't move at all, but that he was resting, eating or something like that. This is a good time to chase. He drove the car slowly out of the city, then suddenly accelerated and rushed out like flying. Showdown's driving skills are not at the level of professional racing drivers, but he still catches shrimp along the way. This stems from the previous physical strengthening. During the physical strengthening process, it not only improved his physical reaction speed, but also developed his spirit and brain. Although the speed of the sports car is very fast, in his eyes, everything seems to be at 0.5 times the speed. Conduct. Under such circumstances, his driving skills can be said to have been passively improved. Before dark, Showdown finally found and entered a small town. This small town, compared with the crowded New York, is simply a quiet paradise. However, Showdown found something strange. Obviously it was dusk, so there should be many people out there, but now, no one can be seen on the roads of the entire town. Hell, the town is not poor, everything is well organized, there is only one place that reveals some clues. That was the road surface. Although it was a concrete road, the dust on it still condensed into wheel marks. It stands to reason that such a small town cannot have any commercial convoys or the like. According to the situation of the tire marks, it seems that several cars rushed into the town one after another. Showdown frowned, and he glanced at the navigator. The red dot representing Sky was already approaching him, which meant that she was still in the town. Could it be that she was in some trouble? He lowered the window, drove the car, and walked towards that place cautiously. Soon, I found a black car buttocks. After turning the corner, I saw that it was a row of 3 black off-road vehicles with exactly the same style. Not far away is Sky's modified van. The back door of the van was opened, and the electronic equipment inside was thrown all over the place. Something happened to Sky. Showdown's heart suddenly became agitated. This girl named Sky was his target. Who would have the guts to snatch his prey? He got out of the car slowly, then walked slowly, and walked in front of the black off-road vehicles. There was no one in the off-road vehicle, and it seemed that everyone was chasing Sky. In my opinion, don't even want your batteries. His current strength is surprisingly large, only stronger than the United States Captain Steve. He stretched out his hand and pulled it hard, and he forcibly opened the front cover. Looking at the dirty car interior, inside, he didn't even bother to do it. There are many wooden fences on the side of the road in the small town. He pulled out a wooden board and smashed the batteries of 3 cars in a row. After doing this, he covered the car cover for them with satisfaction. Then, head towards Sky's van. There were signs of fighting on the van, but there was no blood. It seemed that it was not a vendetta, but the same as him, to arrest Sky. This is not acceptable, Sky must be found quickly. At this moment, a man's heart-piercing scream suddenly sounded in the distance, like a broken egg. Over there. Ah! The man clutched his second brother, and gradually curled up into a shrimp. And under his feet was a long stick. The other end of the stick was tightly held by a lady. She is Sky. Another man rushed up. Seeing his accomplice in pain, a chill hit his. As he spoke, he took out a black pistol from his pocket. Jesk, wait, you can't shoot, she still owes more than $500,000. Are we going to be teased by that stinky all day? We've been wandering around this shitty place for over an hour. Before this, Jesk never thought that a stinky woman would be so difficult to deal with. Obviously everyone hates her so much, but they just can't catch her. No, to be honest, I want to kill her more than you. I not only want to kill her, but I also want to kill her. I'll beat you to death, you can dry the corpse again. After speaking, Jesk pulled the trigger. However, this shot did not hit. Just to splash some stones on the ground under Sky's feet. The middle-aged man with a sinister face breathed a sigh of relief, and hurriedly hugged Jesk's arm. Jesk, calm down. I was the one who lent her the loan. Now that you beat her to death, I can't pay the boss. Why don't we take her back and let her pick up the guests? Don't we? Don't worry, I've already asked someone to drive, let them go around, and we can catch this stinky. Hearing this, Jesk smiled coldly. Then he looked at the man with broken eggs on the ground with concern. Hee, I don't care if you are happy or not, I want her to compensate my brother. Yes, let her lick him comfortably. If she dares to touch him, I'll chop her up and feed her to the dogs on the spot. What? Sky didn't actually borrow money from usury, she just borrowed some money for urgent use. At that time, I only received 3,000 United States dollars. This amount of money is just someone else's monthly salary. However, unexpectedly, the agreed installment repayment has now become a usury. What about integrity between people? Showdown didn't take a few steps before he saw 6 or 7 men in black suits running towards him. Immediately, he was happy. The clothes of these people are out of tune with this small town, and they are obviously outsiders on those off-road vehicles. So, they are the short-lived ghosts who dare to compete with him for their prey. Hurry up, don't let that fool get away. Hurry up. Several people yelled and ran towards Showdown by themselves, but they didn't know that this was a sheep entering the tiger's mouth. Showdown was also very satisfied when he saw these few people who took the initiative to die obediently. Since that's the case, I'll give you a good time. The next moment, he made a move. When the 7 men in black were 1.5 meters away from him, his figure shot out like a cheetah. His strength is very strong, and his explosive speed is naturally like a thunderbolt. Facing this sudden attack, those men in black simply didn't have time to react. Tom. With one punch and one kick, the 2 running ahead were sent flying backwards. They were running desperately, and now they were hit head-on. The 2 forces interacted, it was like being loaded on a train. I don't know how many pieces the ribs were broken into, and I just fell to the ground like that. Life or death is unknown. A face-to-face meeting solved 2 people. Showdown did not relax. This was his first actual combat, and unlike those seasoned superheroes, he could only attack in the most effective and direct way based on his brain analysis. Everything happened in an instant, and the few remaining people only saw the 2 people in front flying out, and before they could look back, they felt a sharp pain in their abdomen. Showdown swung his iron fist parallel to his waist, and his powerful biceps burst out with a strong contraction force. This punch hit the bull, and the bull had to jump up. Not to mention the weak human beings. The 2 people's intestines were smashed by the force of the fist, and their bodies slowly bowed up. They wanted to cry out in pain, but they couldn't make a sound, they could only tremble uncontrollably. After solving 4 people, Showdown followed the trend. In one go, he jumped up, his long legs were like a dragon wagging its tail. Under that terrifying strength, the remaining 3 people lost consciousness before they could figure out the situation. Call. Showdown exhaled lightly, the first battle was won. My heart beats a little faster. Every muscle in my body seemed to be heating up. What? It's different from fighting in school before. While complaining, he continued to walk quickly towards the place where the gunshot was fired just now. As everyone knows, if it's an ordinary fight, at most it's just a scuffle, staggering and funny. But just now, he actually sent someone flying out. And, with just fists, those 2 people lost their fighting power. He even kicked 3 people over with a kick in the air. Can students fight like this? I'm afraid it's not a Japanese high school student. From a distance, he saw a group of people. These people are out of tune with the quiet town, they all talk about shit and bitcha, they are typical hooligans of the United States. And that chick Sky has been driven into a dead end. There was no way. Those men in black pulled out their pistols. Although they hadn't turned on the safety, but being pointed at by the muzzle of the black hole, it was a lie that they were not panicking. Moreover, after walking the dog for more than an hour, she gradually lost her physical strength as a girl. Bitcha, keep running. Let's see if you can jump up there. Smelly woman, kneel down. Hey, Jesk, do you want her to kneel down and talk to you? Huh. Visual inspection of more than a dozen adult men blocked the way. But no one rushed directly to subdue Sky, all of them looked foolish, obviously thinking that Sky was dying to the point of dying. That being the case, they should have a good taste before reporting to the boss. Look at this woman's face, although it is not as beautiful as those trendy girls on the street, but it looks more beautiful under the natural makeup. Definitely, the most important thing is the figure. Europeans and Americans like the figure more than the appearance, which is the so-called kawaii. Sky cursed unwillingly. Definitely this curse didn't have the slightest effect on these men. She is very unwilling. She did not owe more than 500,000 United States dollars, she has paid off the 3,000 United States dollars loan and interest in installments. However, only she knew about this matter. These people are all shameless and people, she has fallen into a systematic deception. She knew very well what would happen if she was captured alive by these people today, after 9 o'clock at night, the receptionist under the tunnel. Moreover, even if they sell silver and pay off the unwarranted $500,000 USD, these people may not set her free. Instead, they will continue to squeeze her until she dies, and will be buried in the field in the outskirts without even a tombstone. If she herself is forced to become like that, she might as well die now. However, before she died, she was thinking, who should she take as a backup? It's the man with the nose ring. With an ugly look on his face, he still wears nose rings like others. And that wretched man, the money was borrowed from him at the beginning. At the beginning, I said that it was so easy to pass the review, but it turned out to be a liar. Thinking of this, Sky's raised hands gradually began to move. If she dares to make a move and rush forward, she will definitely be greeted by bullets. However, it is better to exchange one for two than to sit still. Just when she was about to go all out, a voice came from behind the crowd. Hey, what are you doing? Who? Sky was startled. She wouldn't naively think that there would be such a thing as a hero saving the beauty. Those are all plots in TV dramas, how could they happen in reality? Moreover, how can she be considered a beauty with a face that can't afford moisturizing water? Then, it is likely to be the residents of the town. I didn't expect that I escaped, and even involved people who had nothing to do with it. Well, there is another crime on my head. Brother, it's none of your business here, go away as soon as possible, or you may have an accident. Sure enough, the man in black started threatening and intimidating. This is human nature, and they are not well-trained agents, and they don't blink when they should kill. However, facing the intimidation of a large number of people, that villager acted like a fool and remained indifferent. Could it be that he is a countryman and doesn't understand that this is the persuasion of this group of gangsters? Why involve such an innocent and honest person? Sky was already anxious, even a little desperate. It must be hopeless to break through, they all have guns in their hands. If this honest man is killed, then she will give him another back. However, things are not as she imagined. The gangster man took out a pistol and pointed it at the forehead of this unreasonable villager. Get lost, do you hear me? If you take another step forward, you're courting death. Hearing the threat, Showdown sneered in his heart, he has always been very tricky in seeing people. If you look into this man's eyes, you will find that he is still a chick and has never killed anyone before. Those who have killed people and those who have not killed people have completely different expressions in their eyes. A person's temperament is like a magnetic field. When it is infected with the fluctuation called killing, it will change passively. You tell me to go. Boy, have you ever fired a gun? Do you want to be a gangster like others? This sentence, like an invisible attack, pierced straight into the hearts of the people around. The world is so small, how could there be so many people killed by them? Those present cannot all be elites who have killed people. Actions like arrests are all done by the lowest level cannon fodder. Therefore, more than half of the people present are Hina. They dare to be bad guys, and use this name to enjoy themselves, but they dare not be real villains. Nausea. Shameless. Stop. Don't go all the way again. As he said that, the young man took a pistol and fired 2 bullets towards the ground. It seems that he is trying to prove that he dares to shoot, he has the guts. But his hand trembled and he fired an extra bullet, proving his panic. Showdown smiled slightly. This smile, in their opinion, was so ironic. However, he didn't intend to be sarcastic, it was just a triumphant smile. As long as the opponent moves his gun away, he can't aim at him in the first place, and he has time to act. Although the person who just shot is the most useless, but the gun doesn't have eyes, and he doesn't have a copper head and iron arms. If it goes off, it will be a bad thing to open a hole in the head. At that moment, he concentrated all his strength on the soles of his feet and rushed up. He wants to use the speed of movement to challenge the reaction speed of others. Facts have proved that the explosive power of the body after strengthening is amazing. In his field of vision, everything seems to slow down. At a distance of 10 meters, he reached it in 2 steps, and immediately stretched out his iron hand, hooking towards the man's pistol like an eagle's claw. Before the man could react, the gun he was holding in his hand was snatched away by Showdown. Starting with a real pistol, this is an experience he has never had before. It is a bit heavier than expected, but the texture is very good. Boom! Even if he got a real gun for the first time, he dared to attack the enemy directly. He really didn't have the slightest psychological burden to shoot these people. One shot kills one. The bullet went straight into his heart. Showdown turned around, resisting the stupid corpse who didn't dare to shoot, and used it as a shield. Bang bang bang. Accompanied by several consecutive gunshots, the bullets in Showdown's hand also ran out. Except for the third shot which missed the target, the other bullets all completed their missions, knocking down 6 people respectively. Everything happened too fast. Showdown's explosive speed is simply done in one go. He is simply a genius fighter. Bang bang bang. Only then did those people realize that they all took out their pistols and shot at Showdown's position. However, their bullets will only stay on the corpse of their companion, leaving him dead without a whole body. The rate of fire of the pistol is impossible to penetrate this fat man who weighs more than 150 kilograms. However, Showdown has a way to penetrate this fat man and hit these people on the opposite side. 150 caddies is an easy task for the captain of the United States. Then Showdown, who is stronger than the captain of the United States, is naturally no problem. He stretched out his hand and stood the corpse in front of him briefly, then pulled his hands back, and a white energy quickly formed in his hands. Hadouken. This is the ultimate move of the King of Fighters game wave fist that he drew. This blow is very powerful. The wave fist directly penetrated the corpse shield, blasting towards the crowd. Those characters in the King of Fighters are as famous as Marvel's superheroes, but how could the skills they cultivated be weak? This undulating punch is Long's famous skill. These laymen, when have they seen such a thing? They didn't even notice the pale white energy cluster. They were still thinking, rushed up and beat Showdown to death. Unexpectedly, Showdown's attack bombarded them one step ahead. The wave fist exploded in the crowd, and as the first target was bruised, he died on the spot and couldn't die anymore. Its corpse was even sent flying by that terrifying force, knocking down several people. Seeing the effect, Showdown immediately chose to give up the corpse shield, short and rolled, and immediately approached the small group on the left. Hugging is an inevitable subconscious behavior of human beings. In the shooting just now, they were divided into 2 sides, and one side was bombarded by the wave fist. On the other side, still looking for a chance to shoot. However, their bullets will only cause more trauma to the corpses of their former brothers. No, it should be said that they have beaten the corpses of their former brothers into a sieve. One word, miserable. But this person is destined to be unable to receive rewards for the misery he has borne. Showdown made a tactical roll and got close to the top of the small group on the left. He swung his fist without any hesitation, and swung an uppercut. His jaw was shattered on the spot, and he was stunned. Showdown's attack was like a violent storm. In his heart, he never said anything about fighting steadily with the other party and slowly consuming it. What he wants is to find the right opportunity and take it away with a burst. Do it all at once, second time tired, third time exhausted. This is his current fighting philosophy, at least for now. Since the person in front of him had passed out, he turned his fist into a claw, clasped his neck, used it as a weapon in his hand, and threw it at the person behind him. The skull, which was harder than a rock, directly smashed the man behind until his entire face collapsed. No need to be suspicious, die on the spot. Showdown didn't spend 0.1 second more on this person. The moment he fell, his death was already judged. Immediately afterwards, his right hand suddenly swung towards the ground. Bai Shi ghost burning. I saw that a crimson flame ran along the ground and killed several people in the rear. That is not an ordinary flame. When hit by that flame, the first time it is not the burning of the clothes, but the pain in the body. Ah! Several people cried out in pain. The inexplicable pain seemed to come from the soul, from hell, almost making them unable to stand. Although this blow is not as overbearing as the wave fist, it has a miraculous effect. Those few people will be gradually drained by the pain, and will eventually go into shock. In contrast, although Ghost Burn did not kill Deadman in the first place, it made the people on the left completely lose their fighting power, while the wave fist on the right made a person bruised to death on the spot, but it made the people behind him completely lose their fighting power. It doesn't hurt much. They just got hit, and as long as they have a gun in their hands, they still count as a threat. Boom! Sure enough, someone actually imitated Showdown, using his companion's body as a shield, and fired a shot secretly. Under Showdown's keen intuition, he immediately moved his body closer to the right. Laugh! The bullet missed the position of the heart and passed by his left arm, leaving a bloodstain. Hiss! Showdown gasped, not because of the pain was nothing. What he really cared about was that the dog thief dared to sneak attack. If there is a first shot, there must be a second shot. But he didn't intend to give the opponent a second chance to shoot. Immediately rushed over like lightning. This time, the speed has actually made a breakthrough, even faster than before. I don't know if it's because of the anger in my heart, or because I walked through the gate of hell. Although his body has undergone strengthening, he is only a super soldier now, and has not yet reached the state of indestructible. How fragile the heart is. If it is hit elsewhere, it will only hurt him a little bit, but if he dares to kill him, he must be sent to death. Reciprocity. This is virtue. Crack! Carrying the weight of gravity with one foot, he stepped on that guy's head fiercely. With a crisp sound, the skull fractured, declaring death. Sky covered her little mouth in horror. All this happened in a very short time, estimated to be around 14 seconds. Showdown's movements are smooth, without any doubts. When it's time to make a move, he must find the right time and make a bold move. Very strong. However, a person, without a gun on his body, dared to fight against a dozen gangsters. This is a bit too powerful. Say he is Superman. Hero. What kind of hero? This is simply not something humans can do. Sky looked at the man's face, and saw that it was a standard oriental face, with sharp eyebrows and eyes like water. Worse, this is a heart-pounding feeling. The moment their eyes met, the man's profundity seemed to suck her in. Even if he didn't show his power just now, with just this glance, he might be able to conquer thousands of women. Oh my God, wait, you're hurt. Sky saw the bullet wound on Showdown's left arm and immediately blamed himself. Obviously he was saving her, but she stood where she was without making any effort. No problem. Showdown took a look at the wound. If he cleaned it, with his physical strength, the scar should be healed tomorrow morning. How can this be done? You come with me. I have a medical kit in the car. I will bandage it for you. Clean it with iodine. Have you? Showdown didn't put on an air, since his target was Sky anyway, so he said directly. Yes, let's go. Showdown watched Sky's reaction, and some doubt slowly hung in his heart. This girl is not easy. Although I know she is a vibe girl, but there is no awakening yet, she is still a little hacker. Well, according to common sense, a girl should have been scared to cry when she heard the continuous gunfire. Secondly, there are so many corpses on the ground, especially the one that was regarded as a corpse shield at the beginning. The current appearance is extremely terrifying. Even when he saw the corpse riddled with holes, he could hardly help but want to take a bite. Spit it out. Because of enduring these, his face was a little pale. Killing someone for the first time, he now just wants to get away from this place as soon as possible. But Sky was different. She seemed so at ease. She was not overwhelmed by the scene in front of her at all, but kept booing and asking for warmth. Girl, Deadman is here. A lot of them died. If Showdown had the super ability of mind perception, he would find that Sky's mind is full of how to attack himself, and his brain has blocked all other information. Woman, what a terrifying creature. The two returned to the van. Looking at the rummaged electronic equipment, Sky scratched his hair annoyed. It's okay, the medical kit is under the driver's seat. She tried to pretend to be a mature woman, and said to Showdown. Immediately, the medical kit was quickly taken out. For a girl who has been homeless all year round, there are many secrets in the medical kit. Definitely, routine things like iodine are naturally indispensable. This hurts, bear with it. While talking, Sky dipped a cotton swab in iodine and wiped Showdown's wound. Anyone who has experienced it knows that the kind of pain that hits the flesh and blood. Especially the pain when the cotton wool of the cotton swab rubbed against the open flesh and blood. However, Showdown didn't change his face. The ghost knows what he has gone through, and he is indifferent to this level of pain. Sky glanced at Showdown curiously, thinking that he deliberately pretended to be in front of the girls, so he kept quiet. Unexpectedly, his expression was completely silent, and his eyes did not change at all. He really doesn't feel pain. Aren't you in pain? Hurts a little. Then why didn't you say it? Sky was so frightened that he hurriedly lowered his hand a little. What's the use of saying it, won't it hurt? Oh, I see. By the way, what's your name? Showdown, Chinese, temporarily living in New York. My name is Sky. Really Sky? Ah, I'm used to hearing that name. Showdown chuckled and didn't pursue it. The name is just a code name, it is not a head of state, nor is it a contemporary poet. It needs to be passed down through the ages, so what is the importance of a name? You're temporarily living in New York. You're not from here. Sky pointed to the small town. After saying this, she noticed a luxury sports car not far away, and her eyes lit up. This is not only a handsome boy who fights, but also a young rich man. God, such an opportunity, is God pity her. Such thighs must be hugged tightly. You don't have to worry about the money to replace the equipment in the future. Let alone such a big event today. Showdown, what do you do? Be cute.jpg, Sky asked with a smile. Playing games. What game are you doing? The King of Fighters. Oh, the King of Fighters, the King of Fighters, God. If the man in front of him is just a programmer working in a game company, then Sky will only think that he looks good and has nothing special about him. Even if it is an executive of a well-known game company, she also thinks there is nothing unusual about it. No highlights. But what did he say? King of Fighters. Laymen will only think that this game is awesome. Shit, 666, and only those who understand it will understand that the King of Fighters is no longer as simple as a fighting game. Its imaging technology and resource pack encryption technology have far surpassed this era. As it happens, Sky is a hacker. She can understand even more, the shining treasure of the King of Fighters. And all King of Fighters fans know that the developer of the King of Fighters is Antarctic Studio. Oh no, it should be said that it is Antarctic Game Company. I heard that this company has extremely harsh conditions for recruiting employees. Ordinary people send their resumes, but there is no response at all, or in other words, other parties simply do not accept unsolicited applications. Only when the boss of the company invites them actively, can outsiders have the opportunity to join the company. Rare things are precious. Even a small employee of the Antarctic Game Company is more important than the bosses of other game companies in her opinion. Looking at the luxury sports car not far away, a small employee cannot afford such a sports car. So, could he be? At this moment, Showdown's voice interrupted her fantasy. Who are they and why are they chasing and killing you? Hearing this, Sky shrugged and replied with an innocent face, if I say that I don't know them, would you believe me? A few months ago, in order to update the equipment on the car, I borrowed some money, but unexpectedly they are a group of liars, and now they have become loan sharks. Speaking of this, Sky's eyes suddenly lit up. She immediately turned over and took out a laptop, and quickly operated it. By the way, I can wipe out their data. Let them never harm anyone again. Showdown was watching from the side. On the computer screen, the sums were quickly categorized. The small ones were like 500,000 like Sky, and the big ones were hundreds of millions. And their real loan is the most, which is 80,000 United States dollars. This can no longer be said to be black or not, this is pure deception. Who dares to make such a big move? Jin Bing, Sky said in a calm tone with the string of data reflected in his eyes, the biggest gang leader in the United States. This website is Jin Bing's stuff. I have come into contact with some information about this before. I just didn't expect that I was actually tricked by that fat pig. Fat pig, Showdown chuckled. Jin Bing definitely knew it, but Jin Bing looked like a fat man, but in fact he was a supervillain whose strength should not be underestimated. His body is not fat, but muscle. More than 90% of his body is made up of muscles, so one can imagine how terrifying his strength is among mortals. It is estimated that one punch can easily penetrate a 24-wall wall. So, in other words, those people he just killed were all Jin Bing's subordinates. Originally, I didn't want to get entangled with these guys, but now it seems that there has been a knot. The person who killed Jin Bing, according to Yin's personality in the underworld society, must avenge his so-called brothers, right? Okay, all deleted. Huh, I really did a great thing. Sky looked very happy. Showdown glanced at Sky nonchalantly. The chick didn't seem to realize what she was doing. If Jin Bing knew that it was her doing good deeds, I'm afraid he wouldn't be relieved even if he sent someone to chop her into meat paste. I'm coming back, how about you? It was getting late, and a man with a comfortable family would not spend the night outside. Sky has hesitation. In fact, her puppy kennel is also in New York, but he dare not go back. Go back, someone in New York is going to arrest me. Her scruples are shield. She didn't know that the person who found her was Showdown. She only knew that if she returned to New York, she would definitely be invited back for tea by a group of men in black. Showdown was slightly taken aback, then shook his head amusingly, adjusted his voice, and said, "Hello, Miss Sky." Hearing this familiar voice, the hairs all over Sky's body instantly stood on end, and he was stunned. You are the... I'm Showdown. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Sky doesn't even know how to express his inner feelings now. Twists and turns. No, at the end of today, the world has given her too much stimulation. Not to mention anything else, just the name, Showdown, was enough to surprise her. That's the boss of Angie Game Company, the developer of the masterpiece, the King of Fighters. God in the hearts of countless people. In other words, today her God found her and rescued her. What can I do for you? Sky's tone was very respectful. Liking and admiration are two different things, but now she both likes and admires the man in front of her. Especially, in order to save her, he was injured. Showdown felt relieved inwardly. Now that the conversation has reached this point, he said casually, then you can come to my company to help me. There is a shortage of manpower now. Sky felt that she had been critically attacked, and her dream was to join the Antarctic Game Company and create those miracles together. Not to mention other new technologies, even if you learn some technologies from the King of Fighters. No problem. No problem. Okay, I've seen your ability already. There's no need for a probationary period, and you can become a full-time employee directly, with a monthly salary of 20,000 United States dollars. Is it acceptable? 20,000 USD. Sky exclaimed. Just joining the job as 20,000 United States dollars. What is this concept? She ran to borrow money for a mere 3,000 yuan. Now, Showdown has a monthly salary of 20,000 United States dollars as soon as he opens his mouth. Crit 2. As expected of someone who is regarded by her as a male god, his actions are generous. In fact, in Showdown's opinion, Sky's ability is indeed worth the price. Based on the fact that she dared to invade and succeeded in invading the SHIELD database, Showdown decided on this person. Antarctic Game Company does not raise mediocre people. For the sake of the future, every employee must be an elite. It seems that you have agreed. Then go back to New York first. Come to work tomorrow by yourself. Remember to ask me to sign the entry contract. After speaking, Showdown planned to return to the car. Wait, I know it's not a dream, so my car can't run anymore. There's no way. Sky looked embarrassed. Okay, don't ask for those things of yours. Get in the car. Sky grinned, didn't even look at the electronic equipment that had been with him for a long time, and quickly got into Showdown's car. The next day, Sky walked slowly to a building, looking up at the icons and words on the building, amazed again and again. This is the place she has longed for a long time. She went through the security check without any hindrance, and followed the guidance and boarded the elevator. The lower 6 floors of the building are not offices. There are exhibition halls, cafeterias, private cinemas, etc. The official scene of Antarctic Game Company is at the top. When she found Showdown, she found a group of people around him. Appears to be discussing a project. No, I remember he said that there are only 2 official members of his company. On the other side, Showdown also seemed to have discovered Sky. Immediately said, "Okay, let's talk about this today, let's go." The crowd quickly dispersed, and they returned to their posts without delay. Only then did Showdown walk towards Sky. They are newcomers today. You can understand them as outsourcing companies, or partners, or even security guards. Outsourcing company, security. A shield technician sitting nearby twitched his mouth, but he couldn't say anything. Whatever other people say is what it is. Yesterday they were called out like crap by Commissioner Nick Fury. I was forcibly sent to learn technology today. When will I finish my studies, and when will I go back? During this period, they must obey Dan's orders, and they must do what they are told to do. Showdown was very happy to see such a batch of obedient and efficient machines. As for learning technology, let's learn slowly. 500 years is not a long time to learn. Listening to the explanation, Sky wanted to roll his eyes, but he didn't dare to be disrespectful. It was clear that he didn't want her to know. However, she didn't know that it was her reason that these shield technicians became his company's apprentices. Apprentices have no wages, only eat 3 meals a day, and do hard work. In shield they are very popular, drink spicy food, and rely on their status. They also live very confidently, but now they seem to be demoted. The treatment is very different. These are all thanks to her. Let's go, sign the contract. The 2 signed the contract, and Sky officially started working. After dealing with these matters, Showdown left the company alone, which is the privilege of being a boss. He drove to the suburbs, the same place as yesterday. In the morning, Gonet used special means to send him a message that the target had been captured. Just wait for him to go to review. However, the company was too busy in the morning, and he had been arranging things until the afternoon, when he had time. When he drove to the suburbs, he saw Gonet's upright figure from a distance. He was reading a book in his hand, like a tax-evading priest. And at his feet, a man and a woman were tied up in a big mess. It was the United States programmer and financial chick who had betrayed the Antarctic studio. Showdown got out of the car, picked a weed and played with it in his hands. Help, help. Hearing the sound of footsteps, those 2 people didn't dare to make a fuss, but shouted for help. Showdown almost laughed out loud. He approached and looked down at the 2 people like a god. Open your dog eyes and see, will I save your low life? The man and woman raised their heads slowly in astonishment, and when they saw Showdown's stern face, they were taken aback for a moment. Sky. Seeing those 2 distorted and shape-shifting faces, Showdown smiled happily. Why, don't you believe in retribution? The faces of the 2 were ashen. They were just ordinary people. If they were trapped by the hemp rope, there would be no way out. Unlike other agents or superheroes, they can still struggle a bit. If I hadn't been tied up with a rope, I would have beaten you to death. How dare you untie my rope? The United States programmer roared. The financial chick next to him seemed much quieter, not daring to fart for a long time. This chick may not be called a beauty, but her looks are not bad either. It can be said that they are girls with more suitors among the general population. This United States programmer has long liked her, and Showdown knows about it. Thinking of these things, he smiled strangely. Then he said, if you have the ability to untie the rope yourself, by the way, do you know some secrets about your woman? No, don't say it, please. Before Brooke, the United States programmer, could speak, the woman next to him yelled hastily. Seeing this, Brooke felt that something was wrong, and his brows slowly frowned. As an adult, I think you should have guessed some things. That's right, you are an invincible receiver in the universe, and you are, Dow friends, with thousands of people, and when you were on leave, she was also with the water delivery man. That fat guy had in your seat. Alas, not only did you take over the offer, but you were also greenlit. You stole my money just like that. For the first time in history, you didn't dump this fool and lived with her. All I can say is, what a big heart. No, Brooke, it's not like that. Don't trust him. The woman was crying. She was already in a mess, but now she looked even more in a mess. The United States programmer Brooks' eyes widened, and his eyes were full of disbelief, anger, and murderous intent from being betrayed. If you want to say what men can't tolerate the most, the first one is being green. Brooke, this wicked man, reacted more violently than ordinary people when faced with this situation. He just stared at the woman next to him ferociously, without saying a word. No, no, Brooke, don't look at me like this, what he said is all false, I love you. The woman was constantly explaining, but at this time, the more she explained, the more Brooke could not believe it. Because in his heart, he already had a subconscious mind, picked up dirty goods, and was greened by the dirty goods, the other party was still a dead fat pig. Thinking about being a fellow with that dead fat pig made him feel sick. Rage, unstoppable rage. Finally, he had an attack. Bitcha, I spent 300,000 yuan to treat your illness, so it turned out that you were ridden by thousands of people. I killed you. Roaring, Brooke jumped at the woman. Both of them are tied up and can't move. The only attack weapon is the original beast-like bite. What? Ah, it hurts. Brooke, please forgive me, I really didn't lie to you. What? Just like that, Brooke seemed to be crazy, and with tears in his eyes, he bit the goddess, whom he had managed to catch to death. That looks like a zombie. The tragedy of the scene cannot be described in words. The woman was completely unrecognizable, and the carotid artery was still spraying blood like a fountain. Brooke was panting heavily, his whole body was stained red with blood. Sorry, I just made it up according to the plot of the Island Country AV. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Oh, it's an NTR-themed love action movie. Quote question mark exclamation mark quote. NTR doesn't know, it's the torrent. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Actually, your woman, she hasn't betrayed you. Besides, she's not Qianrenqi, she just has 7 or 8 exes. I just made up a story, I didn't expect you to react so strongly, it's so deceiving. Brooke is truly insane. He was being played. After hearing a few words from someone, he became very suspicious. To actually kill his own woman so alive. Although this woman may be as scum as she is morally. I'm going to kill you. Under the madness, Brooke rushed angrily, trying to catch Showdown. However, he didn't know that the current Showdown was no longer the same. With one kick, he kicked directly into the opponent's stomach. In an instant, Brooke's body flew upside down 7 or 8 meters away. Boom. When it fell, huge amounts of strength brought a muffled sound. The horrible pain instantly made Brooke curl up like a prawn that has been cooked all the time. At the same time, a pig-killing cry was issued. And on his face, apart from the pain, there was only endless disbelief and fear. Ho! Seeing the performance of this disgusting guy, Showdown sneered. These two fools worked hand in hand at the beginning, one ruined the game he had painstakingly developed, and the other took away all the working capital of his company. Almost killed him. Now he finally got what he deserved. As for cruelty, Showdown admits that he has always been a person who will not offend me, and I will not offend others. Definitely, if people offend me, they will pay back 100-fold. When these two people offended him to death, they should be prepared to die tragically now. Remember, do less evil in your next life. After saying this, he made a silent look at Gonet, and then walked back to the car. Through the car window, a storm blew up outside. In the storm, the two people were cut into pieces by the wind blade, and finally the wind swept them and threw them into the sea to feed the fish. Gonet, you did a good job. He lowered the window and praised without hesitation. Gonet belongs to the system, no matter how he treats him, he will not betray. It doesn't matter whether you praise it or not. However, this time Gonet's approach really complied with his wishes, and he can be described as a good minister. I have to praise it. Hearing the sound, Gonet quickly half-kneeled on the ground and said respectfully, it is the duty of subordinates to do things for my master. Get up quickly, then you can move freely, and I will call you when I have something to do. Thank you, my lord. This subordinate will leave. Showdown nodded, started the car, and drove towards his villa. After dealing with the betrayers, Showdown devoted himself wholeheartedly to the company. Over the past month, the popularity of the King of Fighters is still rising, and the number of players is still rising. However, the growth rate has declined, and it seems that this game has reached its limit. There are only so many people in the world, except for the elderly, middle-aged, and children. Only young people and teenagers can play games. And among teenagers, not all like playing games. Also, not everyone likes this type of fighting game. If you don't like it, you don't like it, and a game can't be forced to exclude players of this type. Therefore, during this period of time, in addition to continuing to update, the King of Fighters, his company team has already prepared the framework for the next game. With the addition of Sky and a group of free coolies from S.H.I.E.L.D., the speed of making games is still fast. The most important thing is his god-level programming skills. What those coolies do are marginal things, and the main body of the whole new game is made by him himself. Definitely, the modeling was still handed over to Leva. She understands Showdown's thoughts best, and she can create a general idea within minutes with only Showdown's simple description. And this new work is called Warcraft. Seeing Warcraft running on the computer for the first time, Showdown felt a little dissatisfied. With his transformation skills, it's not that the game is wrong, but this picture is only better than the original Warcraft. Everyone has experienced the baptism of the King of Fighters. How could they accept this kind of garbage picture quality? Even he himself can't accept it. He opened the system's points mall. Looking at the dazzling array of skills, he didn't stay for half a second, but turned directly to the item bar. Elementary level special effects optimization package 10 million points. Medium level special effects optimization package 30 million points. High level special effects optimization package 100 million points. Super Special Effect Optimization Package, 500 million points. Seeing the detailed introduction of each optimization package, Showdown understood. Among the novice gifts given by the system before, the one used for the King of Fighters is a medium-level special effect optimization package. Only the medium level can improve the special effects and picture quality of the King of Fighters to the real level. Even if he has time traveled, looking at the simple King of Fighters, he has the feeling of playing a super large standalone. And its picture quality, special effects, impact sense, etc., are 10 times better than those well-known works in the previous life. A medium-level special effect optimization package can have such an effect. What about the high-level special effects optimization package? Is it possible to shoot movies directly in the game? The kind that blows up Hollywood blockbusters. And above the high level, there is also a super special effect optimization package. This thing worth 500 million, I'm afraid it's not just for the players to travel through. Its authenticity and coolness, if it is used in games with other world themes, I am afraid that if you really play it, the player will be immersive. Horrible, so scary. Human beings or visual animals, King of Fighters, has been optimized, and Warcraft, which is more interesting than King of Fighters, must also be optimized. If you ask him, he must choose the most powerful super special effects optimization package. But looking at the point balance in the corner, it's less than 40 million. 108,000 miles away from 500 million. Helpless, only enough to buy a medium-level special effects optimization package. With the King of Fighters as a reference, it is not difficult to imagine how shocking the game of Warcraft will be after being optimized. This is not a simple fist-fighting game, but a gorgeous world of magic and fighting spirit. Once this game is released, it is foreseeable that it will definitely create a new era for the game industry. Those fellow manufacturers who are still imitating the King of Fighters will probably be pissed off. I bought it. Showdown gritted his teeth and bought the medium-level special effects optimization package. This kind of thing has no entity, and it is directly used in Warcraft on the computer in front of him according to Showdown's wishes. When the screen on the computer changed like water, Showdown's eyes froze. As a developer who has created games like King of Fighters, as a person who knows the effect of medium-level special effects optimization package, he is still overwhelmed by the scene of Warcraft. I don't know those players. Do you still remember the CG scene when the King of Fighters was released? In the CG animation, there is a section where the perspective is lifted into the sky, showing the players a scene of war. The King of Fighters is a fighting game, and there is no war function, at least not yet. And now, Warcraft has it. There is no doubt that this is the scene in the CG at that time. A magnificent war, but it is a bit different from the style of The King of Fighters. It is full of magic style here. This is not a fighting war between humans, but a war between monsters and monsters. Liwa. He dialed a short number and called Liwa in from outside. Now Liwa's main job is the secretary, and the deputy is the artist. After being nourished by men and living a prosperous life, Liwa's skin looks fairer, and the biggest change is the pair of big white doves. Jumped 2 cups. Dan, are you looking for me? Liwa obediently closed the door. Usually, when she is called into the office, she always does that kind of dirty work. She already subconsciously thought that Showdown was about to start again, with some dirty faces on her face, meaning. However, what Showdown said next shocked her. Get ready to hold a game conference. I'm going to release our new game at 12 o'clock noon tomorrow. Riva definitely knew the name, and what shocked her was the timing of the release. You must know that for such a simple game as King of Fighters, the two of them tried to play it countless times and only dared to release it after confirming that it was correct. But now, what does Warcraft look like? She only watched it 10 minutes ago. In comparison, it is simply not worth it. It's not that the theme and story are not good, but that against the brilliance of The King of Fighters, the picture quality of Warcraft is like picking it up from a latrine. If such a work is released rashly, the company's reputation. Dan, are you okay? Now, The King of Fighters is still in its hot period, and other games are no match for us. Why do we have to fight ourselves at this time? Hearing this, Showdown smiled slightly, and said with relief, you have learned a lot these days, and you look like a female president. Ah, you're kidding again. After getting along for a long time, the relationship between Liwa and Showdown has long since ceased to be the kind of scruples they had in the past. Now the two are like old friends for many years, and they can say whatever they want. Don't be afraid of identity, avoid talking about it. The change in Liva's personality is the most obvious, and Showdown can see it. From her timidity at the beginning to her daring to speak her mind now, Showdown feels very relieved. Finally there is someone by her side who can be entrusted with important responsibilities. Liwa, come and have a look. He smiled and waved to Liwa. Okay. Liwa walked over curiously. The bun skirt wrapped her upturned body. A pair of black silk long legs were straight and full, slender but not lacking in sensuality. Despair, despair, despair. The black high heels made a rhythmic sound, and her slightly fragrant body fell into Showdown's arms. When she clearly saw the scene on the computer screen, Liwa was stunned. She had never seen such a scene before. Even if it was the first time to develop a masterpiece like The King of Fighters, together with Showdown, she was not as surprised as she is now. That is a completely different visual impact. Humans are visual animals, women even more so. The style of The King of Fighters is doomed that its pictures tend to be ordinary and do not have enough impact. However, Warcraft is different. It is a gorgeous world of magic and fighting spirit. The more exaggerated, the more cool it is. Although illusory, although out of date, it is so shocking. This is not the beaches and taverns that everyone has seen, but a world created entirely by the heart. If someone still claims that his game is an epic war system, then Liwa wants to go up and beat him. In front of this game, who dares to be arrogant? Who dares to be presumptuous? Although Showdown said that this game is positioned as a real-time strategy game, but in Liva's view, this picture is that magnificent war. Even if it is a real-time strategy, it is also an epic battle castrated by time. Oh God, how did you do it, Dan? I didn't see it like this 10 minutes ago. Riva asked in amazement. Showdown squeezed her soft big white dove and said, do you want to know? Really want to know? I think. Liwa's body was relatively sensitive, and she was overwhelmed by the old CG Showdown's pinch in a few moments. Seeing this situation, Showdown simply turned her over and made her kneel under the desk. Both of them are old comrades who have fought hundreds of times with each other, and Liwa is no longer the pure little girl she was back then. She immediately understood what Showdown meant. Anyway, this is not done once or twice. Tell me when you're done. As she spoke, she took the initiative to unzip Showdown. Shen stretched out his small hand and caught a big fish from inside. Afterwards, she gently let the big fish out, and exhaled cautiously. Suck. Tuck tuck tuck. At this moment, there was a knock on the door, which made both of them tremble. Liwa made a gesture to put it away, but Showdown held her head down. Don't be afraid, hide under the desk, continue. Hee, good. Showdown collected himself and shouted towards the office door, come in. The door of the room opened, and it was Sky who walked in. This made Showdown more nervous and more exciting at the same time. It would be fine if a technician from S.H.I.E.L.D. came in, and he could be treated as a machine, but Sky was different. Can't be exposed. What's the matter with you, Sky? He asked with his arms propped on the desk. Boss, let me report on my work. Hearing this, Showdown nodded. He did ask Sky to come and report regularly. Well, tell me. Okay, since I took over all the affairs of the King of Fighters, many players responded to the global fighting conference you proposed last time. I did a survey. Chapter 31. After Sky was perfunctory by Showdown, Liwa raised her head cautiously, she let go of her mouth, and while buttoning her small suit, she asked, are you really going to release Warcraft so soon? Now that the King of Fighters has dominated the market, in her opinion, the company should start focusing on operations in order to seek greater benefits. To release a new work at this time, isn't it just to beat yourself up? I only ate a small piece of the King of Fighters cake, and I still haven't eaten a large part. However, Showdown's thinking mode is completely different from others. They came to this company, some to make money, some to learn technology, but Showdown's main purpose is to earn points. Money gain has become the second grade. With absolute market possession rights, he doesn't worry about money. What he lacks are points. Therefore, it is necessary to release Warcraft as early as possible. The King of Fighters is now in full swing, but there are always some people who are not addicted to fighting games, so the game time is not too long, and there are very few games that are played all night. Players. In this way, his points increase, although fast, but not fast enough. Must be faster. Ambition is always insatiable, just like the universe, expanding infinitely. Showdown slapped Riva's beautiful buttocks and made a loud voice crack. The next day, on the official website of Angie Game Company, beside the original King of Fighters icon, countless pairs of eyes converged there. Because the spokesperson of the Antarctic Game Company, Goddess Liwa, has already announced that at 12 o'clock noon today, the new work of the Antarctic Game Company will be launched simultaneously globally. The time is now 11:59, and some fanatical game fans have already hovered over the mysterious blank space next to the King of Fighters. It is foreseeable that as soon as Warcraft is launched, they will definitely download it as soon as possible. Although, until now, Antarctic Game Company has not announced the gameplay of this game, only released some promotional posters and videos, but this does not affect the trust of those game fans in this company in the slightest. Will such a conscientious game company have bad games? Due to the time zone, many players our hand has passed 12 o'clock, but the hard game still hasn't been refreshed, but they are not discouraged, they are still waiting. It's like picking up your girlfriend at the airport, and if you don't pick it up today, you won't go back. Drop. When the countdown on the official website reached 0, no one had time to look at the time in the lower right corner of the computer. They lifted the mouse almost at the same time and clicked on the icon that hadn't been loaded yet. That's right, even before the game icon is loaded, they can't wait to download this game. Obviously it is to download a game, but game fans are doing it like a lottery and grabbing red envelopes. Everyone wants to be the first to play this new game. However, it turned out that the official website exploded. The huge amount of traffic directly exploded the servers of Angie Game Company, turning the official network card into a mosaic. In front of the computer, Tony Stark rubbed his chin frantically. He was also a fan of Antarctic Game Company. It's a bit ashamed to say it, he is already an adult, and he is worth hundreds of millions, so he shouldn't waste his life on this kind of virtual product. However, the fact is that since he first came into contact with the King of Fighters, he bought a whole row of game consoles for his villa. All are used to play the King of Fighters. Until later, the King of Fighters released the computer version, and he asked Jarvis to build a simulator for him to exercise his fighting skills while playing the game. He swears that even when he was a child, he never paid so much attention to a small game. Because he can easily clear all the games he comes into contact with. So he was not interested in these things later. He never thought that he would be addicted to a game again in his 30s. He even wanted to buy that game company. For this new work, he has been waiting so long that the flowers are almost withering. But now, the official website is not overcrowded. JARVIS, cut off other people's information for me, let me download first. Yes, sir. JARVIS started to operate on the network, and soon put Tony's computer into the official website download queue. In a super rich man's villa, the internet speed is definitely not bad, and the volume of Warcraft is not too big, and he downloaded the game in less than a minute. Haha, it's so beautiful. Others may still be stuck in front of the computer, but I've already started playing. While talking, Shidake opened the game. Antarctic Game Company's consistent style is download and play. Save the decompression time, save the installation time. A real conscience black technology company. It's even more conscientious than his Stark Industry. Wow, it's not the same as the King of Fighters at all. It seems that this time the style change is very big. Tony clicked to start the game. Is this a magical movie? Tony finished watching the opening animation and entered the novice tutorial. Holy shit, is this making me play God? To be precise, it is to let you experience the commander, sir. I know, JARVIS, can't you hear that as an exaggerated exclamation? Yes, I know, sir. Then why are you pissing me off? Quote. Tony played the tutorial, which is the easiest game. He has been a genius since he was a child, and he has always been unambiguous about playing games. Halfway through the novice tutorial, he felt bored. He felt that he had understood all the content of the game, and even looking at those novice guides was as annoying as an old mother's nagging. So, he forcibly quit the novice tutorial. In the interface specially adjusted by Showdown, there is a single-player option and a multiplayer option. A single-player game naturally means a standalone version. And multiplayer games are online battles. What's the point of standing alone? Let's fight directly. Tony Stark pressed the multiplayer option confidently. Theoretically speaking, since he took a shortcut and was the first player to download the game, at this time, it would be very difficult to match players. However, when he pressed start, he matched the opponent in almost 0.1 seconds, and soon officially entered the game map. Looking at the official game scene, Tony was slightly surprised. Even after reading the map of the novice tutorial, now looking at the official version of the map, he was still surprised. He used to work in the arms industry and had seen many armies and forces. All along, he has positioned those people as reckless and rough people. But now looking at the soldiers under him, they all obeyed his orders 100%. A pleasure called power hits my heart. That's how those generals usually control their soldiers. This feeling is really great. New York City, also known as the crime capital. Beneath this glamorous surface, there is still a lot of darkness lurking. Jin Bing is the Black Emperor of the New York City underground. His voice in the Black Forces is greater than the president's power in front of the citizens of the United States. Despite being such a giant, someone recently took the initiative to stir him up. Before the successful transformation, the gang's income was supported by illegal business. 99% of the massage parlors and foot washing parlors in the city are related to Duracell, and the remaining 1% are newborn calves who are not afraid of tigers and will disappear the next day. And the young women who work in these massage rooms and foot washing rooms are not all voluntary. Most of them were obtained by cheating and abducting. Jin Bing received the news. Just a while ago, when the people below were collecting the bill, they all lost contact. No need to think about it, Quan Thomas is dead. I asked the police and they said they didn't do it. After asking the residents of the town, I found out that the matter should be investigated for the man who became very famous recently. Showdown, a man who was clearly bankrupt, has risen to the top of the business world in just a few months. In time, he will definitely become a business tycoon in the United States, and even the world. Just today, his company released a new work. Jin Bing has always been dismissive of these rubbish virtual products. He doesn't care what the outside world thinks of the Antarctic Game Company, it's all flattery, maybe it's a troll. What he cares about now is how to kill that man named Showdown. This is revenge. Gangsters pay the most attention to loyalty, although most of the time he plays on the occasion, it is a means to strengthen people's hearts, and he has to do it. But this time, he must be careful, because this is not something that can be solved by just sending a few people there. To kill a rich man, he has to consider too much. He wants to kill him for revenge, but also wants to, legally, receive his property. For his power, it will be a constant cash withdrawal machine. Although he looks big and thick, his brain is not stupid at all, but his thinking is quite meticulous. Corey, what's going on? Boss, how should I put it, I don't have enough ability, and I really can't find any more information about him. Jin Bing's figure like a hill moved over, leaning on a crutch. The crutch did not mean that Jin Bing was ill, but his weapon. He stretched out a big hand and put it on Corey's shoulder. Then throw away your crap, act tonight, you lead the charge. Lead. Corey trembled when he heard this word, but he didn't dare to break away from Jin Bing's big hand. To put it nicely, take the lead, and to put it realistically, it's called being cannon fodder. Having been in gangs for so many years, everyone knows that the one who rushes to the front is not necessarily the fiercest, but it must be the one who dies the worst. Showdown is the man who is destined to be at the top of the pyramids in the business world. If he doesn't have some powerful bodyguards around him, he wouldn't believe it if he was hacked to death. The only time to attack that man is when he returns to his Seaview villa. With a flash of inspiration, Corey tentatively asked, "Boss, can you lend me some helicopters?" Jin Bing's moody face was always daunting, and he replied, "Excuse me. What are you borrowing? As long as you bring that Showdown alive, you can have whatever you want." Corey felt a burst of excitement. Get what you want. It may be an encouragement for others to say this. But if the Black Emperor Jin didn't say it, it would definitely be possible. What Corey wants, definitely is the gang mind of the United States, that is, the position of Kim Bin. Definitely, just thinking about it, the grass on the grave of the last person who dared to be presumptuous has grown into a towering tree. Be realistic. He wants a sum of money, and then wanders around Tianya with that girl who is 15 years younger than him. Boss, then I will act. Jin Bing patted Corey's shoulder again in relief, nodded and said, "Go, good luck." "Thank you, boss." After the words fell, Corey quickly left towards the door. Jin looked at Corey's back, and slowly sneered. Corey is already 40 years old, he has already retired from the front line of the battle, and is managing the network in the background. He was a bankrupt banker in his early years, and Kim took him in. He is grateful to Dade, worked hard for money, even violated the bottom line of morality, and created those deceptive online loans. At the beginning, they really got a lot of benefits, especially some young girls that everyone lacked, and money was second. However, now that database has been hacked, he can't get back even a penny. In other words, in Jin Bing's black industry, some of them will lose their hematopoietic function. The black industry is also a place of natural selection. Once there is no fresh blood for a long time, it will soon stink, turn purple, and die. King didn't feel that, no matter what the incident said, it had something to do with Corey. So, if Showdown can be captured, he can make up for his loss. If Showdown can't be captured, then Corey doesn't need to come back, he doesn't support useless people. That night, after Showdown drove Sky back to his residence, he drove Liwa back home. It was 11:30 when I got home. Warcraft became popular today, and to celebrate, he treated his guests to some wine. It has to be said that after the company's reputation became popular, the game's first harvest was as high as that of a thief. Warcraft, 6 hours of downloads, 170 million. What terrifying data this is. Only 6 hours, 170 million real data. Showdown has a unique statistical algorithm to ensure that every download represents a real player entering the pit. In other words, in just these 6 hours, Warcraft has 170 million players. When it is day in the Western Hemisphere, it is night in the Eastern Hemisphere. It is night in the United States now, and the lion on the other side is about to wake up, and that is the real population. He can't even imagine now, when he wakes up from sleep, what kind of number the background data will explode to. Similarly, how many digits will the integral balance of the system become? After parking the car, he looked at the drunken Liwa in the co-pilot, and shook his head helplessly. If I knew it earlier, I should have sent her back to my shared room. Now it's all right, I have to take her from the underground garage to the bedroom above. However, just as he got out of the car and turned around to walk to the passenger door, his ears suddenly moved, and he heard a few faint breathing sounds. The car is completely soundproof, it can't be Reva's snoring. Well, the sound is out there. Showdown felt a chill down his back, ruling out the possibility of seeing a ghost. The most practical thing is that his home was burglarized. Calm down, can't show any flaws now. He has even killed people, so he is still afraid of these few thieves. He gently opened the car door a crack, but his eyes glanced around. The underground garage is an intelligent sensor switch, which will always be on when it recognizes his identity information. It is precisely because of this that the little thief hiding in the dark dare not do it easily. If you want them to come out, you have to turn off the lights. They must take advantage of the darkness before they dare to do anything. Showdown took out his mobile phone calmly, and temporarily turned off the lights in the underground garage through remote control. Sure enough, in less than 3 seconds after the lights went dark, there were several footsteps coming from the dark place. At first glance, there should be 3 or 4 people. Their footsteps are very neat, I am afraid they have received professional training. And no matter how they sneaked into the villa silently, no matter what, the defense level of the villa should be improved. Facing these professionally trained infiltrators, Showdown couldn't bear it. This is not a question of being afraid or not, but anyone who dares to break into his territory without authorization will have to pay a certain price. I saw him in the dark night, his eyes still shone coldly, as if he could see through the night. 3 attacks came from behind at the same time. Ordinary people can't do this, they just rush forward at most, and these few people not only have the same pace, but even the movements of their shots are the same. However, although they are not simple, Showdown will not sit still. He didn't dodge, but raised his long legs, and swept across with a whip. The attack range of the legs is always longer than that of the hands. Before their attacks landed on Showdown, they were weighed by Showdown and flew out sideways. After strengthening, Showdown was so powerful. The first person kicked by him had his arm shattered and fell to the ground, holding that arm that didn't work, howling. But it's just that sound. Under such severe pain, he actually only yelled that once. "Who are you guys?" Showdown asked condescendingly. Even if he didn't turn on the light, he could still see the faces of these people clearly. His eyesight was only a little worse than during the day. But they may not be able to see all of Showdown, they can only see the infinitely magnified stalwart figure from the lights in the car. The hearts of several people were shocked, and they quickly got up from the ground. "How is it?" This sentence is from the first person on the left, greeting the first person on the right. They didn't answer Showdown's question. This made Showdown a little annoyed, and immediately, he rushed forward on his own initiative. His speed is like a cheetah. It turned into a black shadow, and quickly rushed in front of the 3 of them. Immediately, that iron fist landed on the crippled body without any hesitation. Boom! The man's body was directly shapeshifting by this exasperated punch, twisting counterintuitively from the diaphragm. His ribs and spine have been smashed. Coupled with that powerful strength, he died on the spot. An ordinary punch is terrifying. However, it's not over yet. Offending long way, it is definitely not enough to die alone. They all come with a price. After one punch, he received a sweep. The remaining 2 people had just reacted when they were knocked down by the sweep. The 2 of them rolled along the trend, rolled out 2 or 3 meters in embarrassment, and temporarily escaped Showdown's attack range. Sure enough, they are professionally trained. Being able to respond in such a short time is not comparable to those little fool before. But so what? Standing in front of them was a Showdown who had undergone the elementary level strengthening of the system, and also received a very rich fighting heritage. Even if they have been trained for 100 years, even if they are the best so-called retired special forces in the world, so what? Showdown's figure almost coincided with the night, and after a flash, he appeared behind the 2 of them like a ghost. Dodging a counterattack from 2 of them, Showdown got short, raised his elbow, and slammed towards one of them. Click! A crisp sound announced that the person's lumbar spine had broken. There is no need to say more about the fate of the broken lumbar spine. Showdown doesn't care about that either. He killed 2 people in one go, and now there is only 1 person left. He wants to pry some useful news from him. Everyone knows the reason why a big tree attracts the wind, but which kitten or puppy dares to come and attack? It would be too false to say that they were the three robbers spontaneously. After undergoing system strengthening, what he has obtained are not only these powerful attack methods, but also the world's top grappling methods. Under capture, it would be difficult for him to commit suicide. Showdown moved. He stretched out an iron hand, and grabbed the last thief. But he caught an empty space. The three of them are not simple, they can always take advantage of the interval between Showdown's attacks and react quickly. Just when he killed the last person with an elbow, he had already given his body the command to retreat. However, Showdown, as a fighting master, how could he not have expected this? This grab was actually just a feint. The real attack is still under his control. The man backed away with all his strength. He avoided Showdown's iron hand, but suddenly found that his foot tripped, his body suddenly became unstable, and he threw himself out. Taking advantage of the momentum, Showdown leapt up and rushed forward, 3 times, 5 times and 2 times to control him. Tell me, who sent you here? I won't kill honest people. This is his third questioning. But the last remaining man still didn't speak. He smiled. You'd better say it now, otherwise, after a while, you will still say it like beans, and you may suffer some pain or something. Showdown's sneer was like a ghost in the dark night, and the man was terrified when he saw it. Immediately said, Showdown, we have locked you, and now the three of us are just sacrificing heroically for the prosperity and wealth of our brothers. Soon, your place will be razed to the ground by helicopters. At that time, we will send someone fished you out of the ruins. Don't worry, you won't die, because my mission is to keep you alive. But, after I die for you, my brothers will torture you to death for me. You'd better let go of me now, and then catch me, so that everyone will not suffer from the pain of a severed limb. As he was talking, the man became frenzied. He yelled about the so-called brotherhood, and he yelled himself to climax. Showdown looked at this man like a fool. Didn't Thomas finally expose the information? Oh, what a pity, if you had said this earlier, your 2 brothers wouldn't have died. What, I lied to you, hee. Showdown got up and let go of his hand, but it didn't mean he forgave the little thief. The moment he let go of his hand, he kicked him down. With his kick, even the granite would have to be broken in half, not to mention the fragile human body. So far, the 3 thieves are all cool. After solving the 3 little thieves, he did not relax. Because it was learned from the other side that they were going to use helicopters to bomb here. Withdraw. This was the first thought in Showdown's mind. He quickly got into the car, reversed quickly, the sports car engine roared, and the car flew out of the underground garage at a very fast speed, and away from the villa 2 or 3 100 meters. When he looked sideways, sure enough, there were several helicopters flying towards here in the sky. It is estimated that they will reach the front of the villa in less than 10 numbers. At that time, it must be a hell of artillery fire. Fortunately, it was withdrawn in time. Those helicopters are not armed helicopters of the military, but have been artificially modified to install 2 cannons at the door. These machine guns can easily penetrate even steel, not to mention the reinforced concrete houses. It is undeniable that if he is still in the villa now, it is very likely that he will die this time. Fortunately, he escaped. It's a pity that this well-designed villa. Just when he was regretting, a figure suddenly appeared above the villa. That ghostly figure suddenly appeared directly above the villa out of thin air without Showdown noticing it. That's Gonet, who had already gone on his own activities. At the most critical time, he came to the savior. Showdown immediately relaxed in his heart. There is a capable person who makes people feel at ease. On the helicopter, Corey said into the communicator, the target is found on the roof, is it Showdown? Boss, it's too dark to see clearly. Then Thomas's light up for me. Also, has there been any news about those 3 people? It was Corey who came up with the plan. According to his plan, when Showdown returns home, let those 3 people deal with him. Those 3 people are his most capable brothers. If they can bring back Showdown's uniform, that would be the best. And if the 3 of them are in trouble, or there are other bodyguards in Showdown's villa, then the 3 of them just need to surround Showdown, and then use helicopter cannons to cleanse the entire villa. Let the whole villa be reduced to ruins, no matter what it is, it must be buried below. Jin wants to live, so with the protection of those 3 people, Showdown will not die. At that time, as long as he is fished out from the ruins and given a simple treatment in the hospital, he can still be presented to Jin Bing. His mission will be successfully completed, and then he will be able to take a sum of money and go wandering around Tianya with that beautiful girl 15 years younger than him. But, the ideal is naive, but the reality is skinny. His self-righteous plan is vulnerable to absolute power. I saw that Gonet, who was standing on the roof of the villa, slowly closed the thick book that never left his hand, and then raised his hand and waved it lightly. With such a slight movement, a storm suddenly blew up around him. What is that? Corey looked in horror at the tornado that appeared out of nowhere and connected the sky and the earth. Is this some kind of storm at sea? How could it appear in this area? Unscientific. Helicopters are most afraid of this kind of storm, and several fuselages are all shaking. It's not difficult to imagine that once their plane is swept into by a tornado, a group of them will have to confess here even with the helicopter. Boss, I suggest evacuating quickly. The plane is about to fail. Hearing the advice of his subordinates, Corey was also afraid. This Thomas is not scientific at all. What are they up against? What kind of monster are they trying to catch? Could it be mutant? Mutant is so strong. This is the ability that only God has, right? All, withdraw first. Corey was unwilling, but yelled out such an order in fear. However, when his order had just been issued, Gonets above the villa seems to have expected their thoughts. Immediately, with another wave of the arm, another storm struck from the rear of the fleet. This is not over yet. I saw Gonets waving his hands again and again. A total of 5 storms, like 5 pillars of optimism, firmly trapped the fleet in the center. The gangsters on the helicopter were already dumbfounded. They had done all kinds of bad things in their life, but they had never seen such a scene. Even adventurous people, seeing such a scene, I am afraid that their legs will be weak in fright. What is this? Quintessential storm. In the dark night, the darker storm slowly narrowed the encirclement. Obviously Gunitz and Showdown have the same heart. He just wants to watch this group of people die slowly in despair. The 5 pillars of storm connected the sky and the earth, and the airflow in the center became extremely turbulent, making it difficult for the helicopter to maintain balance. Even, they were lucky to be able to suspend in the air. Boss, how about we take advantage of these gaps and try to break out? A young man who is not afraid of death suggested. Corey was immediately dumbfounded, because he hadn't agreed yet. When other people heard this sentence, their desperate hearts were suddenly filled with hope. No matter what the crisis, no order. The desperate people were crazy. They drove the plane and rushed towards the gap exposed by the storm. As long as they can rush out, they can survive. Instead of sitting in the middle and waiting to die, it is better to give it a go. It's very true. When they drove the helicopter, let alone rushed out, just as they approached the storm, the helicopter lost power in an instant and was immediately captured by a strong tornado. The strong and unstoppable airflow, like a beast, will the helicopter and the people were all involved in the storm. Those storms are like rolling mills, and those helicopters are like scrap iron, being crushed and dismembered bit by bit. And those gangsters who dared to underestimate the storm lost their vitality in an instant, and were smashed into balls of flesh by the steel residue in the tornado. The scene was cruel and bloody, but Gonets, who was standing on the roof of the villa, frowned. Are they all fools? Now in the center of the storm, there is only one helicopter left, and I don't know if the Lord will criticize him. In a building in New York, known only to a handful of people, it houses the most powerful mob boss in the United States. It can be said that 40% of the crimes in the United States are related to this person. It is conceivable how huge his influence is. Although he sits in the midfield and dominates all directions, he doesn't spend all his time reading books and arithmetic like a literati. Thoughts. He pays great attention to physical exercise. This is a habit he has developed since he was a child. From that humble member to the current Black Emperor, he has never stopped physical training. He fights against a group of fighting masters from all over the world every day, and every time he is 1 against 10. If you think he's a masochist, you're dead wrong. He is not a masochist, but a tyrant. Among the masters from all over the world who played against him, the time for each battle did not exceed 20 seconds, and the result was either death or injury. Fear. He almost trained himself to be a monster. That huge body is not because of obesity, but because of muscle. From this, it can be seen that this gang leader is completely different from the others. He is Jin Bing. In the arena, 10 tall men who had lost their breath lay quietly on the spot. If you look carefully, you will find that they are all dark horses who have recently been killed in the underground boxing arena. It's a pity that the dark horse was invited by the lion today as a training meal. The underground fighters are not like those famous fighters in the world, who pay attention to the rules of fame. They are quick, accurate and ruthless, and kill their opponents with the most effective fighting method. This is their creed. However, today, 10 of them gathered together, and there was only one target, and that was Jin Bing. At first they were very disdainful of the fat pig. But 15 seconds later, they were all lying on the ground, and when they took their last breath, they didn't dare to think so anymore. Jin Bing flexed his muscles and bones, and there was no fluctuation in the heart of the 10 dead man on the ground. It was like 10 mounds of dirt. He took out a new towel, wiped off the sweat that didn't exist, and continued to exercise. Training is the same as practicing kung fu. If you don't advance, you will retreat. He can't miss every training opportunity every day. After a long time, he finally finished his day's training. This time, he felt a little tired. He weighed down and sat on the wooden chair, which made a creaking sound when it was pressed down. He raised his head and took a sip of fresh water. Like an ordinary person, he cast his gaze on the live news broadcast on the computer screen. During the recent period, the live news of the United States can be described as full of wonderful things. What a shitty hero, what a shitty next generation game. Kim scoffed at this. And now, what is being broadcast on the news is the news of Warcraft. Antarctic Game Company has become a well-known company in the United States, and even in the world, and any move it makes can be written as news-breaking material. For such a major event as the release of a new work, the last news is naturally unavoidable. Jin Bing watched the news and felt some weird emotions in his heart. He had sent his subordinates to kidnap the boss of this company just now, and he didn't know what method that guy used, a broken game, played on the news channel all day long. I still don't believe in this evil today. It's a pity. Those trash under his hands, asked them to check the details of this Showdown, but they couldn't find anything useful. The only thing presented was this Warcraft. The reason is that Showdown's new game may reveal a lot of useful information. Really mentally retarded, Jin Bing resisted the urge to shoot those intelligence officers. But now that I think about it, it seems to make sense. Anyway, I have nothing to do, just to see what the new game made by this man looks like. This is also good. After capturing Showdown, it is better to squeeze his value. In Jin Bing's view, Showdown is already in his pocket, and it is a good tool for him to launder money and make money in the future. As for whether Showdown is willing or not, this has never been in the scope of Jin Bing's consideration. Just kidding. If you still have to ask if you want to, then what's the point of kidnapping? Thinking so, Jin Bing leisurely clicked on the icon of Warcraft on the computer desktop. Then, the interface entered the opening CG of Warcraft. Then, I was shocked. The terrifying visual effect directly grabbed Jin Bing's eyeballs. He was rarely exposed to such things as games before. I vaguely remember the games I played when I was a child, what kind of imbecile games they were. Now this game can be regarded as a computer game. Jin didn't know what the picture of Warcraft meant. As a layman, he only thought it was awesome and real. He has never seen such a game. But fortunately, the novice guide of Warcraft can be said to be cerebral palsy level operations, which can be learned by individuals with a brain. Jin Bing's brain is not bad. He quickly passed the novice guide, his fingers were uncontrollable, and he clicked Start Game subconsciously. Why can it be like this? Jin didn't have time to think about this problem. His thoughts have been constantly attracted as the game progressed. Since he has passed the novice guide, he does not know how to operate in the new game. Warcraft is a real-time strategy game, and I have experienced the thrill of dominating everything from the very beginning. Because his status in reality is like this god, playing games is very immersive. Assuming that this game of his is the strength of the gangsters in his reality, and now the gangs are going to expand and expand, other forces are gangsters from other countries in the world, and he is going to conquer them now. In the first round, Jin Bing's eyes were red because he was beaten to the ground by an unknown junior from the opponent. In the second game, he cheered up, but he was still beaten by a game master. He is not convinced at all. In reality he is Duracell, how can he be so trash in the game? So he opened the third game. Fortunately, he won this game. Immediately, I felt as if I had conquered the whole world and became the boss of gangsters all over the world. The sense of honor and satisfaction can't be described in words, and only he, the gang leader of the United States, can experience it. Almost can't wait, Kim and left to open the next round. He has never had such an idea for a game. The games I used to play when I was a child can be easily cleared, and it is boring to play a few times. Now, although there are not many maps in this, Warcraft, and the choice of camps is also limited, but there are so many ways to play with such a small few. Moreover, in the matched match, the opponent is a living person, a real person, not a rigid program. So, he lost again. No, how can I lose to such a broken person? After losing the game, Jin Bing was really unconvinced. He almost won it. Just a little short. If there is another round, he will definitely not make such a low-level mistake again. Let's play again. It's a pity that in this game, he paid too much attention to the mistakes in the previous game, so he didn't do a good job in the whole process. Obviously, the end result is still failure. After failing twice in a row, Jin Bing's mouth was almost crooked. He swiped the mouse at the speed of light, and immediately clicked on another game. This is the sixth game. Just like the third game, he won it easily. This time, he smiled happily. In this way, in the process of losing twice and winning once, Jin Bing gradually became addicted to this game passively. He didn't even feel that a person behind him had been standing there like a stake for more than 10 minutes. He is by Jin Bing's side, let alone his confidant. He usually does everything, but this time he mainly came to report one thing. That is, not long ago, the battle situation of Cory sent by Jin Bing. However, he really didn't know what to say to persuade Jin to leave the game. Didn't he say that games are all rubbish? Why is he playing with relish now? Is Warcraft so attractive? He didn't dare to speak rashly. Jin Bing definitely wanted face, and to poke face at this time was tantamount to courting death with a low IQ. So, he quietly exited the room again. Afterwards, he walked in from the outside again, but this time the intentional footsteps were so loud that anyone could hear them. Sure enough, Jin Bing was like a child who was caught stealing the game by his mother, and quickly shut down the game as if he was electrocuted. Then he stood up pretending to be calm, and slowly looked at the younger brother who came to report. What's the matter with you? Why are you in a panic? Old boss, I'm sorry. I shouldn't be in such a panic. Okay, tell me what's the matter. Jin Bing heaved a sigh of relief, but fortunately this guy was too reckless when he came in, otherwise it would be embarrassing if his subordinates found him secretly playing the game. 1 second he was still talking about garbage games and children's things, and the next second he was addicted to it and couldn't extricate himself. What is this? Oh my god, it smells so good. However, no matter what the underworld emperor said, he needed face. The little brother took a breath, and said cautiously, well. I followed and observed Cory's actions. He started preparing last night, and he acted late at night. He sent a total of 15 brothers, 4 modified helicopters, and the entire army was wiped out. Ha. Jin Bing frowned suddenly. His appearance was already scary, but now that he frowns like this, he looks like an angry King Kong, who may reach out and smash a person to death at any time. You said that not only did they not catch Showdown, and put yourself in it. The little brother said tremblingly, yes, boss. Tell me what's going on. Jin Bing said angrily. The thing happened like this. Cory first sent the 3 brothers to kidnap Showdown, but it didn't seem to have any effect. Then they drove the helicopter to make an official dispatch, but it happened that there was a tornado on the sea at night, and there were 5 waves in total. The tornado, smashed the helicopter into pieces. Listening to the younger brother's report, Jin Bing's face became even uglier. The 3 brothers are 3 people with very powerful fighting and grasping abilities. They are not real brothers, but they have a tacit understanding and Sheng-like brothers. This is considered a relatively high-level combat power in his power. Unexpectedly, Corey even dispatched them. Moreover, it was a failure. Wait, a tornado. Tell me, that Showdown lives in the Pacific Ocean. Mad, who lives in the United States, how could there be a tornado that smashed the helicopter? Even if there is a typhoon, it is impossible for Shi Gangsheng to smash the helicopter into pieces. They should have time to escape. No, no, the younger brother replied nervously with the sweat on his palms. Showdown lives in a development zone along the coast. I got it with my own eyes from afar. There are 5 tornadoes connecting the sky and the earth, and the helicopter is surrounded. In the middle, it was torn into pieces little by little. Then you must be blind. Quote. The younger brother kept silent, not daring to talk back. If he was blind, he would be blind, and he hoped that he would be blind too. After all, he witnessed such an unreasonable thing with his own eyes. To be honest, he still feels like he is dreaming. Jin Bing took a deep breath, paced slowly in the room, and frowned into the word, Chuan. This guy must not dare to lie, so in other words, there really were 5 storms that happened to appear and blocked their helicopter. How could there be such a coincidence in the world? If there were really a storm of Wudao's level, half of New York would be gone now. If the storm was not man-made, he would dare to cut off his head and use it as a chamber pot now. Could it be that X-Men meddled? Shet. Jin Bing's influence is spread all over the United States, and it is precisely because of this that there are many superheroes who conflict with him. Every crackdown on drug factories, every arrest of smugglers, every crackdown on gangsters. Almost half of it is golden losing. He and those guys who claim to be righteous have long had conflicts. Especially that shitty X-Men. They are obviously a group of monster-like mutants who can't get on the stage, but Thomas set up the X-Men on his own and regards himself as a hero. Each of those mutant forces has some unexpected super abilities. Jin also remembered that in the X-Men team, there seemed to be such a woman whose super ability was to control the storm. Could it be that this person appeared and protected Showdown? If it's this mutant, most people will die if they rush up. Unless a regular army is dispatched, how can it be possible to take down Showdown? Hiss. This made Kim embarrassing. He doesn't really care about the sacrifices of his brothers, but, as a leader, he doesn't want to see his subordinates being pushed into the pit of fire either. Don't act in a hurry, observe first, find the right opportunity, and make sure that Showdown is alone, then act. After receiving the order, the little brother was shocked, and quickly responded, yes. Boss. After he was done, he ran out quickly. Together with Jin, there is always a sense of oppression, as if a hill will collapse at any time. After running out the door, he let out a long sigh of relief. Call. As Jin Bing's confidant, he is very considerate of Jin Bing, and he has already figured out how to deal with it on the way to report. Being able to stand in this position shows that there is still something in his mind, and he will not really regard those storms as natural phenomena. Ordinary people can guess that it has something to do with mutant, how could he not think of it? Therefore, his method is the same as that of Jin, that is, to send someone to monitor Showdown's life first. Once you get familiar with Showdown's living habits, then you can find opportunities for him to be alone and take them down in one fell swoop. At that time, whatever the mutant X-Men, the goods, have already arrived, and it will be too late to do anything by then. He is so proud of his intelligence. Little did they know, there was a problem with his and Jin Bing's estimation, that is, there was no such thing as X-Men in this matter. After the younger brother left, Jin Bing sat back in his seat silently. While thinking about the question about Showdown, he subconsciously attached the keyboard and mouse with both hands. This is completely a subconscious behavior. As soon as the computer screen lit up, the word failure was displayed on it. Because of hanging up, he naturally cannot win. Jin Bing was furious, why couldn't the other party wait for him when he hung up? There is no moral at all. If he knew the real address of the other party, he would definitely send someone to kill him. Fuck. Being able to arouse so many emotions by a game, it means that he is really hooked on this game now. This day is destined to belong to Warcraft Day. When Showdown woke up from the 5*5 big bed, the morning sun just passed through the curtains and spilled into the bedroom. The first time he called out the system panel, he checked the point balance. A total of 25 million points. And the single digits are still beating wildly. The number of players and game time can be seen from the points. Many people may have been playing all night, but they didn't understand what the game of Warcraft is, and they played it all night. The game fans in the opposite hemisphere may have downloaded the game and played it until night. What he wants is this addicted state. Regardless of the size of the player base, as long as they are addicted to it, the game will last long enough. As for the anti-addiction system, it's all a lie. Anti-addiction is mainly to prevent elementary school students from playing games and delaying their homework. But why do elementary school students play games? Just stop playing. Although The King of Fighters is a milestone work that created the game era, it is there because of the type of game. It's okay for players to play for 4 or 5 hours in a row, but it's unrealistic to keep players playing games and fighting all night long. Fight crazily for one night, and everyone may be stupid the next day. And Warcraft is different. This is a real-time strategy game. Players will only want to play more and more. If you lose, you must win and get back. If you win one, go to sleep if you win another. Liwa got drunk last night and was well rested, so she got up early and made breakfast. She just received a call. As the secretary of the big boss of Showdown, her daily work is much busier than expected. This call is an invitation from the TV station. Because Angie Game Company released a new game after less than a year, once again dominating the market. While there are endless topics about Warcraft, many media with ulterior motives are also curious, if a new company has been dominating the market, what kind of actions will other established game companies have? Will there be joint resistance from the old companies? However, these are not things that Showdown cares about. When The King of Fighters became popular in the past, all major TV stations invited him to appear in order to generate broadcast volume for them. It's a pity that he never went to any TV station, and he will not do an exclusive interview on any TV station in the future. Because it is said to be an exclusive interview, but it is actually reading lines to the script. How silly. After breakfast, he didn't delay, and drove Liwa directly to the company. From afar, he saw crowds of reporters surrounding the company. Hearing the roar of the sports car, they are even more amazing. Especially some female reporters, screaming and clamping their thighs. Ah, he is my husband, here he is driving a Bugatti with one hand, he is really handsome. What kind of biscuit are you? He is my little lover, you little girl, go back and see how much your airport is worth. Oh, my God, look at your obscene appearance, do you deserve to be a reporter? Get off and be a street girl, the business must be good. My mother has a good figure, and she dares to show it. If you have the ability, you can show it. Men like this, do you have it? Security, security, someone has hidden a bomb here. You're ruthless. Before Dabo could finish her words, she was driven away by 2 professional security guards for a physical examination. Regardless of whether there is a murder weapon on the body, it must be checked. This is only outside the company. If the higher authorities order these reporters to enter, then they will only investigate more carefully. The security captain walked to the front of the car respectfully, and asked shortly, "Boss, do you need to let them in?" Showdown glanced roughly at the group of reporters. Judging from the number and media brands alone, these are enough to prove the achievements of Angie Game Company today. However, dealing with reporters is both a headache. So, he turned his head to Riva on the co-pilot. Okay. Put it in 10 minutes. 10 minutes later. Yes, boss. Liwa was obviously prepared and had a premonition. She had been putting on makeup there since she got up in the morning. Today's makeup is very delicate. If men only like girls with no makeup, they are still too young. Now Liva puts on a little makeup and is comparable to international female singers. Somewhat similar to Taylor, whom he liked very much in his previous life. I still remember that half a year ago, she held her resume and communicated timidly like a kitten. At that time, she was just a college student who had just left school. Coupled with the reason of tutoring, it is simply outrageous. But now, Showdown entrusts her with everything, and tells her to do it boldly, and he will bear all the consequences. In a short period of time, such a professional female elite has been created. Picking up a treasure is not enough to describe it. It's like digging a mine. 10 minutes later, Liwa was in the reception hall, hosting a press conference. Showdown was bored, so he watched the live broadcast in the office through the camera. Ma'am, may I ask, who are the members of your development team for your company's new game, Warcraft, this time? These are completely open to other game companies, why do you keep it secret? That's right, Goddess Liva, every time you come out to speak, why doesn't your boss come out? Everyone stop arguing, let Miss Liwa talk. With an MMP smile on her face, Liva looked calmly at the off-court. To be honest, when she first came on stage, she completely pretended to be calm. To this day, she has held countless press conferences, and now she is truly calm. For the reporters in the audience, she also has a tricky process. Now about these small problems, it can be said that it is handy to deal with. Oh, are we different from other companies? Maybe this is why the King of Fighters and Warcraft are different from other game companies. Calm and full of style, Showdown in the office couldn't help but want to applaud Riva. Hearing Liwa's answer, there was a deathly silence in the audience. It makes sense, but they couldn't refute it. Other game companies, what kind of rubbish works are they producing, and most of them like to make a list of developers. In contrast, Antarctic Game Company has never had superfluous or tasteless options on the interface. Even the games are always free. As long as you want to play, then you can play. Definitely, for the multiplication business inside, if players have the conditions, they can make fun of it. If they can't afford it, then play the most common version. Totally voluntary. In the current game environment, this can be described as a clean stream, conscience. Made with conscience. Conscience manufacturer. Conscience boss. Thinking of money, many reporters rolled their eyes. Ms. Liwa, may I ask, the agency fee of your company, King of Fighters, is already sky high, so what kind of data is expected for a masterpiece like Warcraft? Facing this question, Liwa smiled slightly, and sealed the mouth of the reporter comrade with 2 words. Confidential. Ah, why is this? Some small media reporters who couldn't speak at the back lamented. They still wanted to make an eye-catching headline based on the explosive data. Well, I guess it's tens of billions. 10 billion, I can't see it. It's just a game. Is it worth investing so much? I think you're an idiot. Did you go to the wrong place today? Go interview that megalomaniac Tony Stark. When a spokesperson uttered the word confidential, it was all muggles who dared to continue asking questions. Obviously, there are quite a few muggles in the audience. Listening to the noise, Liwa helplessly raised her hands and pressed her hands, and her ears immediately became clear. If there is no meaningful topic, then that's the end of the day, she said. At this moment, a reporter sitting in a corner under the stage suddenly raised his hand. Beautiful lady, may I ask, what does your boss like to do? Hearing such a question, Liwa frowned slightly, and looked sideways at the reporter. From her point of view, this reporter is either new to the industry, or maybe unwell. Because his form is so unnatural. Moreover, what is he still asking? What does Showdown usually like to do? Definitely lovemaking. What? You want to know? Definitely, this is a matter of personal privacy, and it is impossible for her to say it. Sorry, this is related to our boss's personal privacy, and it is not convenient to disclose it. So, what is the relationship between you and your boss, ma'am? Couple, brother and sister, the reporter asked persistently. Liwa looked at the brand in the reporter's hand, Black Gold Technology. A media that engages in science and technology cares about gossip news. Liwa twisted her lips, although she really wanted to say that she was the boss's future wife, but Showdown hadn't given her any promises, that is to say, she hadn't chased Showdown yet, so she didn't dare to belittle herself. She pondered for a while, thought for a while and said, we are just an ordinary boss-employee relationship. Please, ma'am, 1,000 people have 1,000 Hamlets in their hearts, and now 1,000 bosses and secretaries all have the same answer. Aren't you different from other companies? The reporter was still chasing after him. Liva frowned, feeling that the matter was not simple. However, in this public eye, she is not easy to get angry, let alone confront the bully. This is the basic principle of a spokesperson. So, she said euphemistically, maybe, we are business partners. Don't post this outside. If the boss finds out, he will beat me to death. Ha ha ha, hey ha ha, ho ho ha. Everyone was amused by Liwa's mischievousness. This is a press conference. These journalists who earn their lives are afraid that they will not find any information. How could they miss every word of the spokesperson? It is foreseeable that in tonight's evening paper, scandals about the boss of the famous news star company, Angie Game Company, will cover the entire page of the newspaper. Okay, since everyone enjoyed this conversation, that's it for today. See you next time. After speaking, Liwa turned around and left the stage resolutely, regardless of the eagerness of the reporters to stay. Ah, Ms. Riva, don't go. Goddess Liva, let's not talk about work anymore, we can just chat like this. I'm sorry, sir, the safety exit is over there. The security team rushed up immediately and blocked the group of reporters. The security team selected by Showdown is the highest spec and most expensive security team. As the saying goes, you get what you pay for, and the abilities and vision of these security guards are all first class. Even the way he speaks is very interesting. The fire exit is over there. What does this mean? It means that if you push any further, it may not be safe here. They are about to start. Warning once. The face of the gossip reporter who was the most crowded suddenly sank, and he looked at the direction of Liwa's departure with a gloomy gaze. It's a pity in my heart. It would be great if she were Showdown's lover. It's a pity that she has no important relationship with Showdown. After Liwa left the reception hall, she immediately called Sky. If counted by position, she is Sky's boss. But in fact, she and Sky are still friends. Just in the company, there should be company rules. Sky, look up the origin of the media, Black Gold Technology. Liwa said solemnly. Hearing this, Sky didn't ask any further questions, and immediately put aside the work at hand, and searched for information on Black Gold Technology, using unique means. Sure enough, there is indeed such a media on the registration website. It seems that his work permit is not fake. Then you can't blame the security team for being careless. However, although this media company still exists, it is now an empty shell, and anyone with a discerning eye knows that it is a place for money laundering. And under what circumstances do you need to use that place to launder money? Needless to say, some criminal proceeds. When it comes to who is a criminal nouveau riche in New York City, Sky's first sound is the chase a few days ago. Jin Bing of Dog Day. There's no need to guess, the media company you mentioned is Jin Bing's business. Sky said confidently. Hearing this, Liwa nodded. She had heard of Jin Bing, but she didn't know much about it. Immediately, she pressed the headset and said, "Attention the security team, attention the security team, leave the Black Gold Technology, male reporter." Just when Liwa was about to go downstairs for interrogation, Sky stopped her suddenly. Look at this. This short media company is owned by Faith Corporation. Liwa looked puzzled. What is Faith Enterprise? Jin Bing's original name was Wilson Grant Faith. Many people in the world know Jin Bing, the famous gangster emperor, but few people know that he is also an entrepreneur who manages the Faith Enterprise. It is definitely impossible for him to use his own money to launder money. That media company is just a kennel for his dog. Having two identities at the same time, not only can he blossom in both, but also allow him to live in style in this bustling city of New York. Liwa's eyes turned cold, and she said coldly, "I care about his many titles, as long as he dares to threaten Dan, I will get rid of him." After the words fell, Liwa stepped on her high heels and went downstairs aggressively. In the last attack, she was still sleeping drunk. Although she couldn't witness the whole process, judging from the subsequent scene, it was undoubtedly a thrilling battle. It's only been more than 10 hours, and that dog sent someone to make trouble again. However, when she took the elevator downstairs, she found that Showdown was already here. And that media reporter was lying in a pool of blood. Is he dead? Liwa looked terrified. Modern society pays attention to the law. It doesn't matter whether the other party has any malicious intent or plans to kill you, but as long as you take the initiative to kill someone, you will have to accept the punishment of the law. Showdown definitely would not kill people in broad daylight and in public. He shook his head and said, he wanted to escape from the security guards, but in the end he threw himself like this. He is still alive. Call the police and send him to the hospital. Hearing the order, the security captain nodded respectfully. Now Antarctic Game Company, already a well-known master in New York, the police of capitalism, knows what to do. Leave the rest to the cops. As for the interrogation of this journalist, that is completely unnecessary. After all the investigations, he didn't need to record a statement to go to court, so why did he need to interrogate? That group of people last night learned from the last person on the helicopter that they were sent by Jin Bing. It was a terrorist attack, but fortunately it was easily blocked by Gonets. As for today's comparison, it can be seen from the camera that he just wants to probe Showdown's secrets and see what other weaknesses he has. This is premeditated kidnapping. Dan, what should we do next? Liwa asked worriedly. Jin Bing has a huge influence in the United States, especially in New York, which is almost his base camp. Small things like dropping a few planes and killing a few people or nothing. It doesn't matter to Jin Bing. Therefore, similar attacks will continue in an endless stream. Showdown glanced at the blood on the ground, and said with a smile, "After I finish the latest update of Warcraft, I will take time to take care of this matter." Points important, or gold is not important. That definitely is points important. The player's game time curve of Warcraft is now higher than the previous King of Fighters, not by a star, but by double the data. If we say that the game atmosphere of King of Fighters in the past is that friends and a few gangs play against each other, play for a few hours, and then go to eat, it can be regarded as a form of entertainment. Much cheaper than drinking. But now, Warcraft is different. The appeal of this game to players is stronger than strong magnetism. Judging from the big data in the background, the first batch of players who entered the pit continued to play for at least 6 hours. What kind of concept is this? Half a day of the day is spent on games. Addicted. Many people think that this is a derogatory term. But in the eyes of businessmen, this is a beautiful compliment. This is what Showdown wanted. Only when the player is obsessed with the game, can he earn points quickly. Moreover, he also plans to vigorously promote the derivative industry of the game. Many classic games in his previous life are not very different in essence, far from being as perfect as the ones he made now. However, those game companies will start to operate any game that is successfully piloted. In the end, the cost of a game can be used to earn hundreds or even thousands of times the profit. Now, he wants to use the same method, not only to make money, but also to earn more points. For example, when you can make money by playing games, and your family no longer opposes it, games will be regarded as a profession. What a wonderful vision it would be for game workers around the world to go to work 8 hours a day. Boss, it looks like Spencer has failed. I know. In the fast food kiosk opposite the Angie game building, Jin Bing's subordinates looked at the ambulance angrily. Things who don't live up to expectations actually panic like this, it's really useless to teach him. He didn't care what kind of serious injury the man got when he fell, he only cared about the failure of this mission. Duracell is someone who doesn't like to lose. After that person failed last time, this is the second time he failed in an operation. If it gets back to Jin Bing's ears, I'm afraid it will be another harsh criticism. Even, that ruthless person will kill him with his own hands. Forget it, call the rest of the brothers, prepare to act tonight. I will do it myself. Made. Soon, 5 black off-road vehicles stopped beside the fast food restaurant. Based on at least 5 people in each car, there are already nearly 30 people. The usual medium-sized gang fights are nothing more than this. The pedestrians around all smelled the strange atmosphere in the air and left silently. And some people even called the police. But in fact, considering Jin Bing's problem, the police station did not respond. Besides, there are only a lot of off-road vehicles parked on the street at the same time. There used to be motorcycle gangs and the like. A group of people, in the fast food restaurant, just waited like this, with their eyes on the Antarctic game building opposite. The time lasted until 6 o'clock, and office workers flowed out of various buildings like a tide. The traffic on the street was getting bigger and bigger, and they couldn't help frowning. What if the boss of the opposite company mixed in with the crowd and ran away with so many people? Tisk, what a stupid way. Made. He slammed the Coke cup in his hand on the table. His strength was still relatively strong, and the cup shattered into glass shards on the spot, frightening the passers-by. Waiter. Sir, the cup is $8. The waiter said with a smile. Quote. The scene fell silent. Before the task was completed, he really didn't want to make any mistakes. If it was normal, he would have knocked the waiter to the ground and hammered it. Showdown is a person who never likes to work overtime. Also a person who hates traffic jams very much. In the Clinton area, every day during the evening rush hour, there will be serious traffic jams. Compared with Didi on the road, he prefers to stay in the company and do happy things until the road is clear. Looking down from the floor-to-ceiling windows, Showdown was immediately delighted. Because of a row of black off-road vehicles, he had noticed it since the morning, and now it's 8 o'clock in the evening, and it's still there. And that kind of model is very familiar. It is the off-road vehicle that I saw when I found Sky in the small town last time. Jin Bing started blocking people. He sneered. Then what should we do? Liwa on the side asked worriedly. New York at night is already very dangerous, and now Jin Bing's men have been discovered. However, Showdown didn't take them seriously at all. In the final analysis, they gangsters were just playing tricks. In the eyes of ordinary people, gangsters may be a frightening force, but in the eyes of superpowers, gangsters are nothing more than that. Often even a person with a super ability can play tricks on the whole gang. Showdown can be considered a super ability user. After all, it can release waves. Don't be afraid. A calculated smile appeared on Showdown's face, and then he took off his suit jacket and put it on the sofa. Dan, what are you doing? Nothing. Go down and meet them. No, you can't go down. They are criminals, we just call the police. Liwa stood in front of Showdown. No matter what, she didn't want this man to take risks. But Showdown shook his head and said, someone has called the police, but the police never came. What does that mean? Liwa understood the reason behind this after a little thought. However, she still looked at Showdown worriedly. Facing such stares, Showdown was quite helpless, and comforted him. Don't worry, I'll go back as soon as I go. Sure enough, when he went downstairs, a group of gangster thugs surrounded him with malicious intentions. All of them looked like wolves, staring fiercely at the sheep in the center. You are Showdown, please come with us. The same please, some people feel different from what you said. Showdown chuckled. He was also invited by people from S.H.I.E.L.D. a long time ago. Look at how tactful people are when they invite people, and look at these fools, they look so underwhelming. It's not the same. I ask you to go, you go as soon as possible. I will drag you away later. One of the thugs with a coxcomb hair said arrogantly. There are almost 30 thugs here, more than half of them don't know who Showdown is. Preconceived, he thought he was just the boss of an ordinary game company. They have done this kind of thing like kidnapping a company boss not once or twice. Every time those company bosses pretended to be calm, after being beaten up, they behaved like grandsons. Rich people are this. With disappointed eyes, Showdown looked at the white man with a coxcomb head. His muscular body shape really gave people a sense of oppression. If he went to boxing, he would still be a good seedling, but he shouldn't have died here in vain. Tisk tisk, he sighed regretfully. Immediately, a force was transmitted from the waist to the feet, and it burst out suddenly. The figure of Showdown, in the neon lights at night, is like a ghost. It's not very appropriate to say that, because Li Gui likes to lock people's necks with sharp claws, but Showdown prefers to strike with fists. Boom. With a muffled sound, the strength of Showdown's punch actually directly smashed the clothes of Coxcomb Head. Cloth crumbs exploded from the back of Coxcomb Head, revealing a purple vest. That was when his heart burst and all the surrounding blood vessels collapsed. Belch. The coxcomb stared at Showdown at close range with violent eyeballs. This was the last sight of his life. He regretted it. Sure enough, if people don't talk too much, they can live longer. Brothers, go. Seeing that Showdown killed one person first, these gangsters rushed towards Showdown as if they had been injected with chicken blood. However, the conditions for doing it come first. Jin is not going to catch him alive. The highest level weapon equipped on them is a baseball bat. This kind of eggless equipment, under Showdown's hands, can break a piece of it with a single punch. In the encirclement, his figure was like a nimble cunning rabbit, handling the incoming attacks with ease. Every time you find the right opportunity, you can even kill a gangster with your own hands. This is a good opportunity to practice fighting skills in actual combat. None of the weapons they use are lethal, and Showdown doesn't need to release his skills, so he just takes this group of people as his training partners. When those sticks came at him all at once, he quickly got short, almost hitting the ground, and he went outside the encirclement in an instant. Immediately afterwards, it was a heavy blow to the person closest to him, and his spine was broken on the spot. The crowd couldn't help Showdown at all. He didn't seem to be fighting, he was more like dancing in the crowd, and as time went by, there were fewer and fewer people who could support him. Ah! Another self-proclaimed thug fell to the ground, holding his shattered arm and howling. There were nearly 30 people just now, and now half of them are lying on the ground. Outside the company gate, Liwa followed out worriedly. She witnessed the whole process of group fighting. She was stunned. All she knew was that after Showdown went out one day, he suddenly became stronger. This, strong, is reflected in every aspect. It turned out that he was so powerful. One person, single out a group of people. This aura alone can fascinate thousands of girls. Not to mention that he still has the upper hand now, treating those gangster thugs like monkeys. Sky. Liwa covered Zhu Hong's small mouth, because she saw that Showdown collided fist to fist with a thug who was 2.2 meters tall and weighed at least 300 kilograms. It's like colliding with a rock with an egg. As expected, the egg would be broken into slag, and Showdown's relatively thin physique might be thrown flying. However, things were far beyond her imagination. The egg collided with the stone, but it was the stone that broke. Showdown's seemingly thin figure turned out to be like cast iron, colliding with that huge gangster thug. Even Liwa, who was 100 meters away, heard the doctor's bone-cracking sound. If the prediction is correct, the arm of that gangster thug will be crippled for the rest of his life, and he will never be a thug again. Because it was a comminuted fracture, even if it was healed, it would still leave sequelae. Not to mention fighting, every cloudy and rainy day is a painful pain. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.